to the OWC World Cup 2024 prediction stream. It's going to be a long one. We have 65 teams to get through this year, so I hope you're all ready for a good amount of time spent here watching the prediction stream. As always, this will be recorded locally and uploaded on, this time, the Corsace YouTube after this is over. And as per usual, we're going to start going down in country code order, not country name alphabetical order. So that'll be the order for the countries this time around. I'm Dio. I'm here with Chillier Pair, Miles, Sad Shiba, and this one guy for the 65 team prediction stream. Ooh. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hey.
Let's go.
Hey. That's a lot of teams, bro. Oh my god. It's the most exciting time of the year for tournaments.
It really is. It's the most exciting time of the year, and it is time to get started. It's time to get started with the United Arab Emirates, the first team going by country code down the list.
I mean, same kind of result as last year, I'd like to think. I mean, you have a bit of coping for some of the teams that didn't qualify last year because a couple of teams completely blew up, and now you're thinking, okay, maybe the teams that didn't qualify last year could maybe get into 25th, 32nd this year, but unfortunately, I don't think this team is one of them. Sticking to the same core mostly, like they usually do. Still, good job of getting the team though, definitely.
I have one thing. They did add FG Champ this year, so they should do better than last year. He's I believe pretty high ranking. I don't know exactly what rank, but he's pretty good. So maybe they could do a little better than last year, but I don't think it's going to be enough.
Yeah, unfortunately, FG Champ was also on the team last year, so I just don't think it's going to be enough for
him.
It doesn't really move the needle to bring the same player back.
Way to go, Miles.
Misreading the overlay. It'll happen once. It won't happen again. It won't happen again.
Stop sight reading, bro. Stop sight reading.
Oh my god.
All right, and now on to our second team. And gonna go ahead and clear everything and move us on to our second team. That is Argentina, this time with 5 returning members: Bomilk Amuro, PP Pupu, Rico, Smashcake, and BTG Pain Slina leaving for Kaushi Boss Plays and VCOB like Chillier. Do you want to start us off? We'll just go down the list.
Yeah, this is a solid roster. I think Argentina always kind of shows up with that playable list of people. They do lose a lot of power with BTG4 and Pain both being gone this year, but I do think they pick up a bit of strength with Boss Plays and Kaoshi switching out directly for them. I know slightly less about Vicio by Lake, so unsure about what they're bringing to the team.
From what I saw, mechanics, just based off my player research, but I think that fits well with what they have, so they should still be, solid enough to qualify, but same as last year.
Mm-hmm.
They're a perennial qualify and don't win a match team.
Yeah,
it's kind of just
yeah, and that's really competitive this year. By the way, that's something that everyone I've spoken to, like the bottom 6 teams to qualify, it's going to be a complete bloodbath this year because of how difficult the pool is and how many teams feel like they're equally matched. And I think this Argentina team is one of them that'll probably make the cut because they have some really strong players like Bomilk and PP Pupu
and Amuro and Richo.
Yeah, very good.
I feel like every team from 30th to 40th, it's like, oh, they have this player, this player, this player. That might be good enough. It might not. We'll see.
We'll see. Yeah. So that is going to do it for Argentina, and that'll get us moved on to our next team, which is Austria. Austria with Fedora Goose, Z10A, Z9A, and Akamono Tenshi returning. Farmist, Alprabel, Nekayase, Smurf QT all being subbed out for Tepi Fangirl, Tomodoy, Desho, and Suniko this year. Miles, you get to start us off this time.
Okay, first, I'm sorry. I just, my window resized and I accidentally clicked on the clear pick, so we have to click it again.
Aye, Miles.
Unbelievable.
I'm already on 2 moments.
What are you doing,
This is going badly for me, but yeah, I mean, this team, it's one of those teams that I don't think they're going to qualify, but they're probably going to be on the upper end of not qualifying teams, maybe placing at around 36 or 37 from what I've seen. Like, Fedora Goose coming back is always a good thing for them. He's like that timeless captain for this country. Tomadoy coming back. That's another old name. That guy is an OG, was really good in like 2019, 2020, around that time, a little earlier as well. But just one of those teams where they're going to need some freaking crazy performances, I think, to get over the hump.
I agree. Yeah. No, I definitely agree. For me, it's one of those teams that I was really struggling to debate on whether or not I should put in Just Barely Qualify or DNQ. It's really hard because there are some teams that you have to really think of vibes and you have to kind of think, okay, with this specific scenario, with this specific pool, this yada yada yada. No, but for me, it's a very bordering DNQ. I'd say they're probably one of the higher seeding teams in qualifiers this year, especially with Tomodo coming back. That guy's an OG. He hasn't come back. I think he came back last time since like 2017. 2021. Yeah, he was pretty solid back then. So I'm putting in DNQ, but very high DNQ.
Will say worth noting, they only got 43rd last year in qualifiers.
I was just gonna mention.
Yeah, they were not particularly close to qualifying. Their average score was 1.7 million. You needed to be over 2.09 or 2.08 million to qualify last year. And by all accounts, this year's qualifier pool is harder. And I don't know I don't know that the players that they added are going to kind of give them the skill cap to suddenly be better. So I unfortunately don't love their chances of moving up. When you have to move up 11 spots and a lot of teams at that range either stayed the same or got somewhat better, it's a tough ask.
Yeah.
I am like really quickly going to add, I am doing map pools for OSU Austria tournament that is quite literally happening right now. And we have had to slightly reduce the scaling of the original pools due to the scores per round being a little bit lower than we kind of expected them to be. And qualifiers for OWC this year starts at 7.3, which is where we were originally going to cap at for that tournament. So not convincing for me.
Yeah. So for all those reasons, Austria in the DNQ spot. Let me actually put them. I did put them there. Okay, great. That brings us to our next team and our first heavy hitter in the list. Team Australia, 7 returning members: the Secret Box, Embrek, AKNZX, Sayo, JGLF, O/Zintex, and longtime member Dummy. Finally, he has been replaced, this time with Palar, who to my knowledge is a very solid hard rock player who was a significant contributor in Australia's 4-digit World Cup run this year.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think the cool thing with Australia is that they've lost Dummy, but I think over time, Dummy was slowly kind of fading away from the top ranks in Australia. He was a core goat on the team, man. Yep. It is sad to see him go, but I think Pala coming in is a really solid replacement. I think for me, I was really bordering between whether or not Pala or Treyarch would play, because I think they're both really solid players for the same reasons. But I don't actually know why Treyarch didn't make it, but like whether or not, it doesn't really matter. They're both really good players. Pala still makes a good addition. This team is like insanely good. I mean, I think it's more based off like the individual improvements that all of these players have made. Emrek, AKNZX, and the Secret Box in particular. I mean, Emrek is the GOAT. I don't have to worry about that. But I don't really have to have any issues. Like for me, it's a third place for me. Like I think they have good potential, and even so, like depending on where they get in the pool. In the stage against USA, they might beat USA. It's a slim chance, but I see a world where they could get second. But my guess is third.
I don't think they can beat USA to get second. Like, I just don't see a world where the bracket works that way.
Who knows?
Because like, let's say they beat USA early, it would be in winners bracket, and then they would still have to play them hypothetically in the losers bracket final. So I don't really see it. That's the problem for me with Australia. And there's a few teams and like tiers where this I think will come up, but they're good enough to beat everybody below them, but not good enough to beat the 2 teams ahead above them, right? I think that's just kind of the same thing as last year, where they have this insane skill cap on several players, but I think there are a couple of teams in particular that are just going to be better. But yeah, this team is like actually loaded again. I mean, they brought back 7 of 8. They lose Doomy, but Also, regarding Chef Treyarch, like, I guess it was just a super late decision that he decided he didn't want to play for personal reasons, but I don't know the specifics beyond that. So it wasn't like he got left off the team or something. That being said, they still have several of the best players in the world, and they have I mean, you've got Emmerich on your team, right? And the pools are really hard. That's just such a huge boon to have a player with that kind of skill cap.
I'm not gonna beat a dead horse. There's one guy who's the odd one out here. So, Chillier, I think I probably know which team you have above them, but let's hear the argument for 4th for Australia this year.
I am taking 4th for Australia in a realistic sense based on how teams, I think, look from qualifiers last year. Australia got 7th last year. We are fully aware that the Philippines, who placed 5th last year, are most likely not going to perform to the same caliber because they have lost Enri and Hyok. So I'm assuming they fall below Australia. Same deal with Poland. I think they drop down below Australia this year, losing a lot of their experienced roster and a lot of their top-level players, especially with someone like Malashevsky having been missing from that roster. That leaves South Korea, US, Russia, Germany ahead of them if all remains the same as last year, putting them in 5th to 6th. If we assume that they have players that have improved from last year and that they are going to be a better team than they showed us last time, that gives them a stretch spot of 4th, and I think they can pull that off this year. So there's my logical argument behind where they are.
I mean, I think a lot of it, qualifiers placement has a lot to do with the bracket, but I think Australia showed that they have the potential to outperform what their qualifiers seeding is in this tournament. So for that reason, I think I'll probably still agree with the 3rd for Australia, but valid point. They are they were last year a worse team in qualifiers than their seeding, right? They seeded 7th and they got 3rd. So that was a big overperformance. Largely due to them beating Poland on the tiebreaker in quarterfinals. So they effectively swapped places with Canada. Poland. And 11th seeded Canada also. Yeah, that's also a big thing.
Who they just like ran over.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think that's any closing thoughts for Australia. I think this is a team that we all pretty much have kind of in the 3rd, 4th realm here. There's, like Aaron said, some pretty pre-decided tiers that we think for a lot of these teams, but this is a team that is, I think, very likely to get in the top 4.
Yeah, one thing that I would like to add is that the good part about having 7 returning players this year, I know Australia is a team that was like, they had the same core for a very long time with like Dummy, Jordan the Bear, like that crew back in the early 2020s, late 2010s. But now you have 7 players returning, all of which are improving last year. Emmerich now, I think finally he's reaching like so far above the curve of like 2013 Cookiezi at this point. Like that comparison has been even blasted out of the water. Like he's too good. The best super player in the tournament, everyone improving. This team, like, I actually kind of agree with Shibi here. On a good day, on the right pool, the fact that pools are getting harder benefits them. They could have a bid in the right moment to strike top 2, but I'm still gonna settle with 3rd here.
Okay, let's go ahead and move on to the next one, which is Bosnia and Herzegovina. Their very first OWC World Cup, their debut showing here in OWC. And as with a lot of debut teams, slow claps, as with a lot of debut teams, they do not have a full roster. They have 6 players, Dax420, Neo, Aurora, Dennis. Shout out to Dennis sharing a name, Kilgrew and Zedon. Unfortunately, basically any team without 8 players is pretty much guaranteed not to qualify. So congratulations to Bosnia and Herzegovina for putting together a team and making it into the World Cup this year. But unfortunately, just based off of what we have seen in the past, probably not going to spend too much time talking about this team and move right on to the next one, which in that case is Belgium. Belgium with 6 returning members, Honore, 5 Yoshi, Hexy, also known as Hexaki, Mirsu, Metabi, Mornis, and then 2 new members, MRB and Vinny, replacing iBlue and Ramfi. T1G, do you want to start us off?
Yeah, man, I want it to be Belgium's year to qualify so badly every year. It seems like they just are perpetually stuck in this loop of finishing like 34th through 38th or thereabouts. Last year it was 37th, and unfortunately, I think I kind of have to put them back in that same zone, but it's going to be super close. This is one of those teams in that tier that we talked about where, like, anything between 30th and 40th is just completely within the realm of possibility, and it's going to be impossible to know who gets which of those spots until qualifiers are done. They benefit from the increased rank range because I believe it's Vinny that they're able to add. Double checking here real quick. Yeah, they're able to add Vinny this year, which maybe rounds out their roster in such a way that, you know, puts them over that hump. Hanori has been playing some really good OSU in tournaments over the past few months. Like, they've got a solid enough roster for where they are. Unfortunately, it's just the barest of margins that separate teams, and I think there's just too many teams competing for this spot, and I don't know that Belgium can quite make it. I have them finishing right in line with several other teams, unfortunately on the wrong side of 32nd, but I would absolutely not be surprised if they finish at like 30th, 31st, 32nd either.
Okay, as the dissenting opinion here, I did not think I would be the dissenting opinion. Basically, everyone reflects the same opinion that T1G has here, from what I've heard. Like, this team is so unbelievably close, but from what I've heard from the players, this year is going to be a confident year from them. Hanori last year specifically told me that he was really debuffed by how much flow aim was in the qualifiers pool last year, but this pool not having as much flow aim, he's going to do better on this pool. Mortis is playing some insane Osu right now, very good Hard Rock and DT player. I think he's going to get top scores on them for those maps potentially. And then Hexakey as well, also playing really well. And they also just have a pretty well-rounded roster. Like, 5 Joshi's there, he's playing really well recently, setting a bunch of top plays. Like, he's going to be that hidden carry for them, along with Hanori. And, you know, I was surprised to see everyone here put them in DMQ, because I think this year could be their year where they finally get rid of that curse.
Yeah, I mean, in my mind, like, I'm always struggling with Belgium because, like T1G, like, I want this team to qualify. These guys have been around for quite a while, and they're pretty good players, man. They are so close in my mind, but I'd like to think with the teams that I had around, I was super bordering between 25th, 32nd, and DNQ. Similar deal to Austria, but I'm gonna stick with DNQ. Just because I don't know, I'm not sure if, like, the changes have been as high, even if some players have improved. I'm not sure how that's going to translate in tournaments specifically, but yeah, I hope they qualify. I want to get proven wrong, man. But if I was to make a general honest prediction, I'd say DNQ, unfortunately. But if they make it, that's fucking awesome. That's awesome.
I will actually change mine to 25-32. I'm just comparing a couple of the teams on my own prep sheet here. And I do think there is one team I have in mind that actually imploded this year that I think they can qualify ahead of. Like, people talk about, like, Philippines, Poland.
There's a couple on the other end as well.
There's another team.
I think there's like 2 teams at both ends that I felt that way about. That from the top end imploded and also from the bottom end imploded, if that makes sense.
Kinda. But yeah, anyway, I think there is room for Belgium this year. I think they have good players. The rank range change benefited them a little bit. It's close like it is every year for Belgium, so don't be surprised regardless of which way they go, whether they qualify or not. But yeah, they'll be close. Chili, any closing thoughts? Not clothing thoughts.
Well, I could give you both. Nothing in disagreement with what anyone has said here. I think I'm pretty in line.
All right, let's go ahead and move on to the next team. That is Bulgaria. Not a first appearance for Bulgaria, but I believe a second appearance, if memory serves. Their last time playing was in 2022. This roster with Hlandon, Krat, Ivonix, Synchro HD, Ted, Thorn, Workzoo, and Yun. Chillier, why don't you start us off here?
This is a team that I think you might recognize 1 or 2 players on this roster, and I think this falls similarly in line with the teams that maybe don't have a full roster of 8 players, where those first-year nerves may kick in for some of those who have not played before, or just a team that has not made an appearance in quite a while. I don't think you often expect a team who is making their first appearance in a very long time to make enough of a jump to be top 32, especially in a year where there is technically more teams than there has ever been in this tournament. That just keeps the bar so high for a team that is probably not in a position to take a strong start without a name brand player, if you will, to carry them through. High skill cap.
I will, small correction, this is their 4th time playing. They played OWC number 2, OWC 2013, and OWC 2022. They were group stage in the first 2 and then qualifiers in 2022. But yeah, echoing Chillier's thoughts, and I think all of us are probably of a pretty similar mind here. This is a country with a relatively small player base, not a lot of people to choose from, and no star power, no carry players, so to speak, to mind the gap for them. So Bulgaria, unfortunately, I think will probably not qualify this year. Any quick thoughts before we go on to the next team?
I played against Ted and London in 4-digit tournaments in like 2018. That's all I know about this team.
Fair enough. All right.
True.
On to the next team, and that is Brazil. With Korean Maluko, Izzy, Fake Defons, that's mains. I think new name is like TFGE Kitten or something. Lierman, Droppinks.
Why?
Droppinks, who is actually XX Louise XX 487. That is Droppinks. Hiro, Kagira, and Seiwan. Thoughts? You know what? I'll start for Brazil. I haven't started on one of these teams yet, except one of the smaller ones. I do think there is definitely some fall off here, but I don't think it is ridiculous fall off. They do still have good players on this team. They do still have a pretty well-rounded roster. They brought in a couple of speed players to help out with Korean Maluko and mains on the speedier picks. They do still have some reading and control players on the team as well. So there is room for this team to qualify, and there is room for them to, I think, win a match. Do I think they get farther than 17-24? No, but I think them winning a match is also really dependent on how well Korean Maluko plays. So if he shows up and plays well, as per usual, then Brazil should still be able to do well this year. If not, then Brazil are potentially 0-2 or DNQ team.
Okay, let me explain myself really quick. I've been given the information they may not have Korean Maluko for the qualifiers.
Oh my god!
Oh, well,
they might not have Korean Maluko this weekend.
You
want to hear what it is?
Give me a moment.
Okay, hold on a second. If they have Korean Maluko and he plays even like okay, if like he's on like vacation or something, if he plays okay at all, I think they qualify and probably win a match when he's on his good setup. But if he no-shows qualifiers, I don't think they qualify. That's what I'm going to say.
Yeah, if he's not there, that's actually GG, I think, because he's just their best player and it's not close.
If Korean is not there for qualifiers, that is 3 out of 3 of Brazil's best players from last year in every match they played, including qualifiers.
Oh god, true. No Zubs, no Defons. That's brutal.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have Korean Maluko, you lose your hope in qualifying. I have the hope that he is playing. If I'm under the assumption that Korean is playing, I think they just barely make it the 25th. I was initially putting this team in DNQ, but after looking at more of the teams, I was thinking, you know what, Korean Maluko is actually kind of OP. I underrate him a little bit, so I have put them into qualify. But bro, if Korean Maluko isn't playing, they're done, bro. They're done. Like they're not making it.
I'm gonna vote as if he's there.
Entirely. I am gonna vote as if he's there, and I'm
gonna remain hopeful.
I'm gonna vote under the assumption that he is there, and I'm gonna put 25th, 32nd. But yeah, if he isn't there, then I'm with Miles all the way. Yeah.
In closing, Brazil numero uno do mundo, and on to the next team, which is Belarus. New captain this year in Vudek, and also a few returning members: Burnish, Floveris, Visteri, Nuo, Temazi Pro. Two other new members in Holips 42MS over both Mudek and Zaverk. Vudek is very good, but Belarus, again, last year, one of those teams that just did not have a very good qualifier run. They were, can I find them, number 40 in qualifiers. So I don't think slight improvement is enough, and I'm gonna also have to go DNQ. And any other final words, gentlemen?
Mudek got banned.
Good,
that Mudek got banned. Mudek is pretty good. Wasn't Zavek kind of good last year?
I really don't remember.
They have a team of 8.
Losing Cortez R is a salute, though, man. That's tragic.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, that guy's an OG.
Yeah, that's sad.
Okay, on to the next team, which is the Great White North Canada. Xylus, Ryuke, Zudinator, Cut Paper, and then 4 swaps this year, getting rid of Stoof, Yip, Curtis, and Vesprit for Nick1324, Saryi, Curtis's direct replacement, Dark Karate, the aim player, and Pikapone. I'll start because I'm going to be
native Canadian.
I'll be the Canada Hopium because I know nobody else is going to be on this panel, so I'm going to provide the Canada Hopium here. Shut up, Miles. Shut up, Miles. This is a team that has been top 6 every year since 2018 in OWC. 4th is exactly 1 bracket above that. I think that they have the consistency early round, obviously, to take wins off of anyone. They showed that last year. And they built a tryouts pool specifically to test skill cap. They have been raising the bar in Canadian tournaments all year round for skill cap, and they have added a lot of the best newer talent in Dark Karate and Pikapone from those tournaments. I think that they should have what it takes to get a win in finals losers bracket weekend. And that's the hill I'm going to die on for Canada. I'm gonna give the Hopium there. They have a very solid overall team composition.
About Canada.
Pikapone and his 2012 join date, definitely new player.
He's not a new player, but this is his OWC debut. This is the first time he's ever played OWC.
That's the crazy thing, right? Was I the only one who thought that Pikapone had been on this Canadian team before, like ages ago?
I'm a little surprised he wasn't on in 2016 or something.
Pikapone
is like the most random players on this team.
It feels like the guy's been around for so fucking long. Like, surely at some point he had been on the team. And then while me and Dura were talking about it, I found out, and I was like, what? He's never been on the team? That's like one of the weirdest things. He's like the Mandela effect. You know what I'm saying?
Dude, like, plays speed on this team
he's
now.
He's like an OWC Mandela effect.
Dark Karate plays speed.
Like, how weird is it?
Dark Karate, the direct replacement for Curtis.
Definitely the least speed player ever. If he's the replacement for Curtis, they are screwed on speed. But yeah, I mean...
They brought on Dark Karate and Saryi for speed.
Like, Canada actually doesn't win, like, just dominate speed anymore, though. It feels so weird to see a Canadian team that isn't just, like, speed-pilled.
They don't, and that's fine because they're really good at a lot of other stuff at the same time.
Question, when was the last time that, like, anybody on this team played any of the big international tournaments? Because I swear to God, I haven't seen Xylus, Ryuke, Zudi, like, in anything this year.
I don't know.
It doesn't matter.
I don't think it matters.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah. That too. I mean, the only ones that I'm aware of is Pikapone and Surrey playing Konyo Division 1, I think. But that's all I know. Pikapone got on a really high-ranking team. I'm pretty sure he got top 3 Konyo with his team. But it is a draft tournament. Like, to be fair, like that might hold a few question marks. But that's the only player that I know who has played a recent open rank tournament. But yeah.
Anyway, yeah, they just 5-6 because like Canada.
Canada good.
They just always do this stuff, man.
Canada good, but not best. There is your description.
They won't beat they're it's the same thing, like just one notch down that we talked about with Australia. They're really good, but they aren't good enough to beat like a certain set of teams.
Yeah, I kind of agree with Dio's reasoning to give them 4th, but I still like, yeah, Canada seem to be better, and yeah, it's really good that they're testing skill cap, but I actually still look at the teams and I still think like there are like a few teams that have actually gotten quite a bit better by like a small decate margin. I still
quite a bit better by a small margin. You gotta pick one there, brother.
Yeah, but quite a bit means like okay, you know what I mean. Like by a small margin, like they're still stronger, unfortunately, even if Canada's buffed slightly.
I think this team may have actually gotten stronger. I'm going to be honest.
Yeah, this team did get stronger.
I think they have.
These are good replacements.
Except at speed. They got worse at speed. They got better at everything else.
Yeah, they got worse at speed and better at everything else, which I think is better for the team as a whole.
More important.
Yeah. Because
I'm really curious on how they qualify. I'm really curious on their qualifying placement now that they won't have that int with Xylus and Zudi.
They'll top 8 quals, I think.
They'll be above the United States.
Yeah, they'll top 8 quals, I think.
Literally, they're farther north
above the United States. Literally,
that is true. Yeah.
All right, on to the next team. We've already talked about Canada quite enough, I think, at this point. So let's try and keep it moving here. The big CH, not the Montreal Canadiens, Switzerland, Dash Spartan, Shroob, Mibura all returned from last year. Akani, Ravella Green, and Shoki getting replaced by Flopper727, Jay, and Azure. And then also, actually, that's Shoki twice on there. Nice graphic. And Skellers also on the team this year. So full 8-person roster, but despite Chillier's first place, I'm gonna have to go with DNQ as well on this one.
A third from last in qualifiers last year, barely averaged 1 million points team scores. Like, sorry guys, your flag is a big plus.
I have to juice Switzerland because I did my pick'ems. I did my pick'ems and I didn't realize it. I may have accidentally picked Switzerland for top 32, so they are in my top 32 teams for this year now.
Okay.
So I have to juice them.
Yeah. I mean, go for it, man.
I have to manifest it.
Good luck.
You think anyone clicked on Switzerland on their pick'ems because they thought the flag was Hong Kong?
I can tell you that 154 people picked Switzerland.
All right.
Okay.
Well, anyway.
All right, so what's the juice?
He doesn't have any juice. He's
He
just
doesn't have
saying
any juice.
And
I'm
there is no
hyping them.
actual
I'm
juice.
manifesting juice.
He's hyping them. He's not juicing them.
All right.
I am making the lemonade.
That orange is quite dry, I'm afraid.
All right. Well, once you're done hand juicing, let's we'll get back to it. For now, on to Chile. Suntan, Mathy, Intercambing, number 37, Gonza, Chalk Gamer, along with Alfew and Nakore, who replaced TFGE and Yuna. Somebody else want to start, or should I just go on this one?
They got top 8 last year, and they're still good.
You're the Chile guy, Dio. You're the Chile guy. It has to be you, man.
Oh, that's true. I didn't
You're
think
the
of
LATAM guy.
What's the lore?
You're the Chile guy, man.
All right. The lore this year is that Suntan is the best player on this team.
Okay.
Yeah.
I see that.
He improved enough to be the best player on this team. So with that in mind, they were both very good last year. They were top 8 last year. The two teams that were ahead of them last year in the semi-finals and finals, one of them was Philippines, who we're going to talk about them later, but probably are not getting the same placement they had last year. And then the other teams that contest at that level are like Germany, Russia, UK, I think, for me. And I think Chile has a better roster than at least 2 of them. So for me, I put Chile 5-6.
For me, this team, it always feels like watching them, they're always like such a boom or bust roster because it was like, oh, is Mathy and Intercamping going to play to their top potential every match? But as Dio said, now you're worrying about that plus Suntan. And like, they're so well-rounded elsewhere as well. Like, even without TFGE, they still have number 37, who's just that hidden beast. I think on free mod especially, that's going to show. But genuinely speaking, if this team had 6 Nusu 9 and TFGE,
yes,
I would put them at 4th place. I'm not even joking.
Here's the thing, Miles, is TFGE has no motivation, doesn't play the game anymore, and literally gave up his spot because he was worse in tryouts than other people and also had no motivation to play. So,
but imagine if he did have that motivation.
If he did,
then
that'd be pretty good.
Then I would put them at 4th, genuinely. Like, I am a big believer in Chile this year. Suntan joining up to like the Mathy Intercamping skill level is so good for them.
Yeah, I mean, I actually think the improvements that Chile made are actually quite solid. I mean, TFG and Yunha, they're really good players for different reasons. But Nakore is really well-rounded, really strong at mechanics. Alfew is also quite good. I have heard that Alfew has been able to match the skill set quality that TFGE's had to add as well. So Chile is still a really good roster, plus Suntan improving quite a lot. Intercambing and Mathy are very, like Miles said, kind of boom or bust, explosive players that have infinite potential to do really, really good, but also are a little bit of a question mark. But it's a similar deal as my explanation for Canada, where I actually think they are a better team than last year, but I'm looking at their other teams that have also improved quite a bit, and I still think they're going to be sticking around 7th, 8th. It's still going to be higher than last year's placement, though, and I still think they're going to beat that 9th, 12th in 2023 and get 7th, 8th at least. But top 6 is definitely...
They were top 8 last year.
7th, 8th last year. Yeah,
my bad. Yeah. Okay, well, yeah, regardless, I still think they're able to reach that again. There is potential to get top 6, I'd say, but that's my guess for now. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, Vamos Chile. They're awesome, man.
Vamos Chile. That'll do it for Chile here. And now we go on to our next team, China. Lolo235, Lolo234, Lolo233, all returning from last year. Crystal, Z-Numbers, and Midsi also returning from last year. This time, My Angel Anzu and Survivor X4 subbed out for Dwagon and Lido Fox. Chillier, would you like to start?
I think China is going to get better this year, in short. China had a really rough run last year, being 16th seed, because that meant that they faced South Korea really early in the bracket. And facing South Korea at all last year was basically a death sentence if you were in the upper bracket. Yeah. So, bracket aside, China won the next 2 matches and only fell to Poland, who was a significantly better team last year than they would be this year. With that being said, Milk Tea was already crazy last year. They are even better this year. Milk Tea is going to be like the truth of the tournament this year, I think, for China. I also don't think that they lost anything by switching to 2 newer players for My Angel Anzu and Survivor X4. And for that reason, I actually think that there is a chance China can go back up to 7th, 8th this year.
That's respectable. Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, I think that's a reasonable take, and I think probably most of us are like, this team is 9th place out of 9-12 and not 12th place out of 9-12, right? Like, I think that's a pretty common opinion here. At least that's my opinion. I think this is like the best 9-12 team.
I agree.
There are like
I just double checked
teams.
my teams. Yeah, definitely.
I have something on this one. Sorry, Aaron.
Go on.
I think that, or one thing, Karumi hasn't played the game that much in the last 6 months. He basically soft quit, and he's treating this as kind of his last dance or whatever. Yeah, he's too busy playing Sound Voltex and translating for Blue Archive or something. Like, that guy's gone. But if he fully derusts, I can definitely see them going up to 7-8. But like, he just doesn't play the game that much anymore. And same thing with Crystal. I know Crystal is like that forever talent. Like, you never underestimate Crystal, because that's when he's gonna come and get you the hardest. But like, what tournament has he played in the last 6 months? I haven't seen any, at least.
I'm just not worried about it, because it's Crystal.
I'm just not
worried about it.
Yeah,
he'll be
I just
fine.
don't care.
Crystal can let you just hop on and play like a beast whenever he wants. Like, I'm not really worried about that.
Yeah, I mean, never actually worry about Crystal. He's always gonna play well.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is just top 12 with the ability to maybe get 7th, 8th with a good bracket.
They need a good bracket. They need the bracket.
Yeah.
Small cool thing to mention. I think David Q2, Z-Numbers, and Dwagon have improved quite a bit generally. They played very well in 4-digit World Cup. Granted, it's 4-digit World Cup. You know, map pools are a little bit lower, but definitely regarding early to mid game, they have a really solid team. They upset South Korea's 4WC team that was seed 2 that year. And that was a big core because of Dwagon, who's one of the new additions, Z-Numbers, and David Q2. So I do think objectively, like, a lot of these players have improved, including Milty, Crystal's Crystal. Karumi, I know you mentioned that he hasn't played, and I've seen that, and I have been a little bit concerned about that. But I'd like to think that if this is Karumi's last OWC, I think he's still going to put that effort in and try and get back into his prime as much as he can, so that he can make the most of his last run in this tournament. So I have faith in that regard, and I think in turn, China definitely 9th solidly in my mind.
Right. Let's go ahead and go on to the next team here, which this time is Colombia. This team with Carlos Flo, J1X, Okinori, Schwarz, all returning from last year. Ninther, Black Astro, 501312, and Yari, all subbing out this time for Gold, Aether, Fel, and Jakuru. And Colombia, I think, is probably a team where we are all going to have them DNQ, as last year they were number 50 out of 57, and I don't see any big significant changes to this roster. Any quick 30-second thoughts on Colombia before we move on?
Carlos Flo, FC's every map, 2 million score, and they qualify top 1.
Banger script.
Sure.
Fire script writers. All right, on to the next team, which is Czechia. New captain this year with Drakes, Kudonaido subbing out for that, Sigmund Fraud and Vilaz coming back, and then 5 more new members, so 6 new people for Czechia this year, Fiscal, Evident, Mirek, Lucker, and Singapore for this roster. Czechia last year qualified in, did not qualify in. They were number 44, and with a almost fully rebuilt roster, I think it's not a hot take to have them in DNQ. Any quick player shout-outs while we're here and while I do the rest of the housekeeping stuff here?
No LeBron James, sad.
No Lagote. Respect Sigmund Fraud, respect Vilaz.
That dude's
come back every single year, but not enough.
Okay, on to the next team. That is Germany. Another heavy hitter here with Kriller, Whitecat, Okinamo, Yeri, Zeitfrost, and Tim Kackner all returning from last year. Aimbot Cone and Shiox subbing out for Fle and Ahoff here. Let's see. Let's start with. Let's go backwards this time. We'll start with T1G and go back towards me at the end.
So Germany is the kind of the other team I feel like that just goes together with Australia. They were, 4th place last year. They kept 6 of the same members. They brought in 2 members who, Fle and Ahoff, are both super solid. I don't know that I would say this is a gain or loss. It's kind of a side grade, if anything, to me. Kriller continues to be one of the best tournament players in the world. Yari, Zeitfrost, Tim Kackner, Okinamo back once more. Whitecat, he shows up for OWC every year, and he does what he can on the maps he's good on. He's had some insane performances at OWC, but I think this is just that kind of competition where Germany just is Canada's kryptonite, so I don't see them finishing below Canada, but I think Australia is still that bit better. They didn't actually, I don't know when those two teams have even last played, but I think were they to match up, I would pick Australia over Germany, which is why I have Germany 4th, Australia 3rd. They are a similar strength to last year, in my opinion, and so I think it's a 3rd or 4th place finish, and all good. I think they're good enough to reach that tier once more, but not quite to take that next step up to top 2, top 3.
All right, Dio, are you hitting 5th, 6th the same reason as I'm hitting 5th, 6th, or are you different reasons? Because
I'm hitting 5th, 6th because I have Canada ahead of them in 4th. So.
Oh, I have 5th, 6th because I have another team ahead of them at 4th as well.
Okay, well you go first because we're going reverse direction.
I mean, this team. I don't want to leak it just yet. I mean, it might be a little obvious, but I'll wait it for now. This German team is still really solid. Losing Shiox, I'd say, is a really tough loss. I feel like Aimbot Cone is a solid speed player, but I think Germany can still do solely. I don't think they were going to be contesting Australia and USA anyway, with or without him. So I still think Germany are going to be a really strong mechanics roster overall. Flay is a good addition. I feel like a lot of people wanted Flay to come in this last year, but unfortunately he just barely missed out. But he's definitely a really good player, a really strong aim control player from what I know. So happy to see him around. Ahoff is going to be really overlooked for this German team. He was a really good consistent tournament player overall. He's quite well rounded, is going to be really good for early game consistency, which I think some of us can maybe admit that Germany struggle on a little bit generally. Kriller in particular is the only super carry that can kind of play at any skill level generally. The rest of this team, maybe Okinamo as well there, but everybody else is very much a super mega high skill ceiling team that deliver a lot more in semis, finals, and grand finals than they would in round of 16, round of 32, maybe even quarters, depending on how heavy it is. But overall, this Germany team is still really, really good. I do not have a doubt in my mind that they will get top 6 or higher.
I think I'm under the same opinion as Aaron for this team, but I think they have a little bit more of a shot against Australia than I think most people give them credit for. The synergy between Kriller and Whitecat gives them this really strong point of strength that I don't think many other teams have, and that 2 of them are both exceptionally good tech players, and I think that they kind of have that as a pick point against Australia, and Kriller himself being one of the best gimmick players in the world in tournament could also give them some more points there, while also having that usual Germany strength and speed to maybe take that one break point against Australia. Not that I'm saying that's definitely going to happen, but South Korea wasn't supposed to win that speed pick against USA in grand finals last year, so you never know. I think if this Germany team overperforms and potentially beats Australia, they can get 3rd. but definitely I think tied at the hip with Australia. Like it's those two teams in the same tier below, you know, the obvious top tier.
I'm in the same boat with Miles. I just think that Germany comes out on top this year. I am a full believer that this is the most back Germany has been in a very long time, since they were kind of duking it out with the US a couple of years ago. They have so much talent on this roster that has improved in previous months and this year. Ahoff is unbelievable all the way through. Very difficult map pools. Was like what I would consider my right-hand player in Kanyo Cup that just ended. Fle is a fantastic addition for consistency to their mechanics roster. And then again, Ahoff, that big addition to help Kriller on some more of the gimmicky maps, which is something that I think Germany has tended to lack. They were more of the mechanics-based team. Whenever it was like them in the US, it was like the mechanics versus the gimmick, and I feel like South Korea kind of takes that spot now, but I think Germany has just come back into that form that they need to find here, and if they find a good spot in qualifiers, then they will go far in the bracket.
I have them 5-6 because I put Canada at 4th, and you know, all I'll say is that Canada beat Germany last year head-to-head in a matchup during the bracket stage. Don't pay attention to which round it was, but they beat them in a head-to-head matchup. Don't pay attention to which round it was, Aaron. Jesus. Don't do it.
Yeah, load of this guy.
But yeah, I think my heart says Canada 4, my brain says Germany 4. So yeah, I mean, we're basically in agreement.
Yeah, you gotta follow your heart in these predictions.
I'm following my heart in the predictions. So yeah, that'll be it for Germany, and on to the next team, which is Denmark. Have another big change up for this roster. Paule, Iamville, Catburger, and Sobu coming back. Malak Zazis, Mahisuru, and Marco Pollo all swapping out for Redzi, Rise of Kingdoms, The Beast, Jonah, and Thies. I will wrong Thies.
I'm like, man.
I will start with this one. I have them in DNQ. I think this is a team that has the potential to qualify. I think that they are a team that is like top 32, 25-32, or DNQ, one of the two. They have a solid team composition, so they definitely have the ability to qualify, and I think this is just one of those teams where it matters how good the pool is for them and whether or not they can show up on the day and have a good run on each map, but they definitely have a good enough team composition. Like, their team is well built. They have members for most maps. Are they members that are going to be good enough to win them matches in the bracket stage? No. I think that they can qualify and no more, but it's a question of whether they qualify as well for me. Chilia.
Yeah, Chilia, go on.
Denmark is... They have a solid roster every single time. It always just falls short of qualifying. I think they were 35th last year, something like that. Yes, they were 35th. Which, for reference, it was like 0.3 points off of qualifying, 0.4, which is a very small margin. I think some of these players have improved this year. If anyone watched like the COE 1v1 tournament, Sobu qualifying for that, playing pretty well on stage, let alone in a comfortable setting, being back at home. Catburger, Poyeville always playing really well, and I think Redzi is actually a really good addition to the roster this year, along with Thies. Those are the two names that really stick out to me right now. So, you know, losing Marco Pollo, it's unfortunate. It's a good player that they're losing. I think if they had it, then guaranteed qualifier for Denmark. But I'm going to put them on the higher side of the 50-50 this year. I think they have the good time.
Yeah, I agree. I think this team, I was really on the fence about this team, on whether or not they'll qualify or not, but I did decide on doing so. Mostly looking at Thies coming in and Sobu's improvement. I always knew that Catburger and Iamville are really reliable and really solid players for Denmark, but seeing Sobu's improvement, I think most notably at COE, but also generally across the board, he's improved quite a bit. And Thies is a really good player from what I remember. I'm not too familiar with Redzi, but I know a couple of people have spoken to me about him, but yeah, I think Denmark are definitely good enough to qualify in my mind, but I'm on a similar side with you where unfortunately I don't think they're going to win a single match in bracket, but qualify I think they will. Yeah, very low seeded qualify, but solid team nonetheless.
Yeah, for me it depends on who's playing their best. I was just told that Catburger needs to put in 1,000 play count this month and stop playing World of Warcraft. So if you're in the chat, make sure you do that. Get that 1K play count in, and I'm sure that Denmark could qualify. But it's tough competition this year for those like qualifying spots.
Yeah, you're my fellow DOQer.
I'm just with Dio on this one. Like, it's another kind of Belgium situation where like they have solid players, and I unfortunately just kind of have them falling on the wrong side of the line. But it can really go either way. Like, if they qualify, it'll be one of the like last 4 teams in, and if they don't qualify, it'll be one of the first like 4 teams out. There's just so many teams in that vicinity, and I unfortunately have them on the wrong side of the line.
All right, on to the next team, which is Dominican Republic. This is a team that it is not their first time playing, but it is their first time since OWC #1, where they played group stage back in 2011. For context, there were 3 OWCs, OWC number 1, 2, and 3, which were community tournaments before the series was taken over by the official OS team. As with every roster that does not have a full 8-player roster, and as with most countries that are showing up after, in this case, 13 years, I think we're all in DNQ. Let's go on to the next team, which is Estonia.
Also, Dominican Republic is playing literally right now, which is kind
they
of
are.
Good luck.
They're playing right now, so good luck
Who
to
wants
them.
to know their qualifier scores?
Skill OWC! Oh my god! Anyway, yeah, moving on.
All right,
Estonia.
I'll go for Estonia. I think this is a team that is... I have them in basically the same spot as I have Denmark, which is to say...
teams!
I'm sorry?
There's so many of those teams.
There's so many. Yeah, there's so many. I have them in
many.
basically the same spot, which is like I lean to the side of DNQ, but they could absolutely qualify. Cedru, Revo, Slay, Ansenth are all really good. Abyssal is back. He is... I haven't seen too much activity from him, but he is back. And then, unfortunately for White Ceiling, Micken, and the Hassel, I don't think any of us really know too much about them, but Estonia is a team that is kind of in that same spot year after year, where they are usually pretty close to qualifying but never quite make it in, and I don't think this year is going to be much different. Apparently we're all in agreement also.
Yeah, we're all in agreement here. I think that first half of the roster, Ansenth, Cedru, and Revo are going to be really crucial, but I will say you're sleeping on Mikan. He came back. That guy used to be a freaking insane speed player back in like 2020 and before, so it's cool to see him back, but nonetheless, I don't think they're going to qualify.
Don't sleep on the Hassle, dude.
Yeah, if Abyssal can hit some of the notes on the gimmicky hidden picks, maybe.
That is true. I agree. Yeah, I mean, same story as everyone else said. They do actually have a few really solid players, but I don't think it's enough to qualify. It's another one of those teams that I was really struggling to decide on whether or not they qualify or not. Probably one of the hardest teams for me. But yeah, sadly, like Dio said, like I'm putting them DNQ, but I would not doubt at all if they qualified. I would definitely believe it. This team can definitely do it, but unfortunately for what I've got down, I don't think they will.
All right. And now on to our next roster. In this case, throwing the alphabet for a loop here with ES as the country code, España, Spain.
Viva España!
Manolo, Aleph, Antonio, all back. Creator back again. And 4 swaps. Escrupulio, Bairechu, Damn Daniel, and Radioned for this team. And I'm with Miles here. Spain wins a match this year.
Yeah,
Spain wins a match.
They do.
I have so much opium. Fun fact, completely off topic to the roster, Bairechu had his name forced reverted because it was initially Fentanyl Seeker.
Yes.
Funny note. Anyway, moving on. Spain, they're pretty good, man. They're pretty damn good. They could win a match this year, I'm telling you.
They qualify every year, but like...
This has to be the time they break it.
They got double 5-0'd last year, guys. They didn't win a point last year, guys. I'm sorry. I don't see that they're going to improve enough to go from not winning a single map, losing 10-0, to all of a sudden winning an entire match.
But that's
Who was their second opponent? Who was their second opponent?
Norway last year.
Norway.
Norway are good, man. Like I would.
I mean, yeah, they got Germany, Norway. Like it's tough, but yeah, I'm sorry, you gotta get a point if you want me to pick you to win an entire match.
He's not wrong. He's not wrong. I completely understand where Aaron is coming from.
It's a fair point. It's a fair point, but I'm putting them as winning a match.
Yeah, sure. Me and Dennis are spiritually on this team with the all caps, all spaces.
Yeah, so we gotta go 17-24
here. They're good this year. Like #1 edition this year is S2E14.
Escrupulio.
Yeah. Chillier just won a badge with him, I think. So you can talk.
Yeah,
about
I
him.
did.
Yeah, go crazy, Chillier.
Absolutely ridiculous player, by the way. Like primarily speed stamina, as far as I was concerned when playing through maps. He was an absolute demon on the tapping maps and some of the DTs, but had a ridiculous number of moments late stage on aim picks, which is huge because Spain is really good at that sort of thing across the board. I also have like super faith in a lot of the players on the upper side of this roster here too. A lot of people who have been here for a very, very long time, and that have it in them to make that improvement to continue to go through this year. So I don't know what else to say. Spain's gonna win a match this year. Aleph is kind of the GOAT, so we're gonna roll with it.
Yeah, I can agree. I mean, the only slight negative I have is that Inharmonia is not on the team. But outside of that, like the improvements are good. The players are still really solid. I think they win a match for sure. Yeah.
All right. Let's go on to the next one, which is Finland, returning with a pretty similar roster. No Kalanlu this year, no Alird, no Freezed, which are pretty solid players, but still have Shaduz, Emesetic, Zipe, Dezku, and Nev, and added in AJJ, Mayuri, and Tabletti. And I have this team pretty much the same as last year, actually.
Yeah, they're one of those teams that just feels like they always qualify, win a match, and that's kind of their expectation. And I feel like losing Kalanlu and Freezed is not the best for them, but I think the remaining strength of the roster should be enough to get them in and get them through like a first round losers bracket matchup or something at worst case.
Yeah, and I think the people who were added are good enough to cover. It's definitely a blow to like team composition a little bit because Kalanlu was very, very good for like low AR reading stuff, but Tabletti can somewhat play that, Mayuri can somewhat play that, and then AJJ is a ridiculously good tapping and DT specialist, so they got still good players for their strengths and filled in the roster well enough with the last two editions, so pretty much the same opinion.
Yeah,
Oh, sorry, what are you talking? My bad.
Oh, yeah, I was just gonna say, I think teams with good players make it work, and even though Freeze, like, typically has been, like, that centerpiece player, like, if Finland had a super carry, it would be Freeze, but they still have some very good players who are very active in tournaments, seeing players like Dezku, Nev, Zepe, the whole first half of the roster that's returning, all very active in tournaments, and definitely still good enough to win a match. Like, do not underestimate them there.
I mean, for me, I feel like if one of the three players that lost, maybe outside of, if Mayuri was still on the team and Freeze stayed, I would have probably put this team 13th, 16th. But I'm really fighting with myself because I want to put this team 13th, 16th. 3WC people know. But I think I'm going to have to force myself to put 17th, 24th. But for me, it's like the absolute tippity top of 17th, 24th for me.
Okay, let's move on to the next roster, where we will have, I think, a little bit of contention, perhaps, with this team and with people's opinions on this team, the wider community's opinions on this team. France, Musty, Akoro, Charlie, Fie, Justman, Kalangi returning from last year, Flasta and Flavin out for Hifkill and Mize JD. I'll go first. France is a team that I think just wow, I'm actually the lowest. France is a team that I think has France's potential, man. All right, this is a team where you talk about potential all the time, and they just never actually realize the potential. And this is especially true in previous years. Their 9-12 finish in 2022 was a year where people thought that they might be able to get an even better finish than that. 13-16 last year, people were saying, oh, this is a great roster for them, right? They have Flavin back, they have Flaste, they have a lot of returners. They have, Charlie, Fie are really good. Every year it seems like there's a lot of potential, and they always have good players. Like, none of these players are bad. But I don't know what it is. France is just never quite as good as it seems like they should be. And that is kind of a shame, because if they were as good as it seems like they should be, then they would be a really top tier team. They would be a contender for like top 8. But I just don't think they're as good as they should be. And it seems like the case every year.
I see where you're coming from, but
he sees the vision, chat.
I am going to go on the top end of what you are saying. France has this vast list of very consistent, usually, and very tenured OWC players. I would also like to note that it is very, very rare that France does not get top 16 in recent years, even if that means getting 16th overall. Last year, as reference, France placed 13th to 16th. They were knocked out in quarterfinals of the tournament by Sweden, who had a really good year, mind you.
Yeah.
But that is because they lost their first round matchup due to facing Brazil, who had a really good team last year compared to this year. If France somehow wins their first match of the tournament last year and continues through, they may have made it a spot further, putting them into the 9th to the 12th bracket of teams. And I do not think this team has made a downturn. I think that Hifkill and Mai is actually maybe an upgrade from Flasta and Flavin, that this team would drop a placement. So 13th to 16th, I think they are somewhere in this range. I don't see a world where they fall below this.
Yeah, this team has a extremely high ceiling, yet again. Everything that Dio said, I think, is right. Like, a very high potential, but this team has gotten really unlucky with brackets in the past, and this is something that hasn't left them for a long time. Everyone remembers back when group stage was a thing, they'd have the curse of having to face Hong Kong in their group every year, but now here, I think with a good bracket, they're probably potentially could get as high as Shiba has them rated, but I'm just going on the average of opinions here. This team is really strong, really well-rounded. Mize being a 5WC player, actually, I will say I'm very bullish on 5WC players because they're very consistent on lower star pools. And there's another team that benefits from this even more, just like lower ranked players in general having a big addition of one of those. But I think that this team is not going to crash out to a 17 through 24, but probably on the higher end of 13 through 16, in my opinion.
All right, since I'm the odd one out...
Real quick. Okay. For the record, fix on the graphic. Kalangi is new, Hifkill is not, so they should be swapped. So Hifkill is returning from last year. Kalangi is one of the new members alongside Mize JD.
Even better, actually.
I was actually going to say I thought Kalangi was new. Yeah, I'm a little bit the odd one out here, and some people might call me biased because I am good friends with the coach of the French team, but I actually kind of see a much more motivated France as well, because I think another thing, France has a curse with rough brackets. France also have a curse with really rough and inconsistent mental and very bad consistency, despite how good the players are, right? Musty, from what I know, has been in his prime. He's gotten back to his prime. He won OWC24 tournament against a Fie who had been performing very well and a very motivated player at that. Mize JD is a similar deal, who not only is a very consistent early game player, but also very high generally with skill ceiling from what I know. Kalanji is an extremely reliable reading and hidden player from what I have known and from what I have seen from him. Obviously, you always raise that question mark with France on whether how lucky they get with bracket and how well they survive with mental. But I feel like with the new additions on there, on top of how much Musty and Fear have really taken the time to improve, I think France not only are going to improve on their mental, but generally as a collective roster on paper improve. Sure, losing Flash Day sucks. It does take away a lot of skill cap and a lot of potential to push further past quarterfinals or semis, but it doesn't change the fact that I think France could get top 12 for sure.
All right. So, yeah, general thoughts 13-16. Let's go ahead and move on to the next team, which in this order is the United Kingdom. Captain Bubbleman with Malteser, Rudge, 9 MLCE, known by no other names, Haunt, and then, of course, from last year, being replaced are Kingling, Easy Champ, and Ophiz. New or returning this year are Listia, Mahmood, and Skiwawa, who is also known by no other name than Skiwawa.
Listen, I mean, look, I'm the resident, I'm the resident Brit here, and I gotta say, I have to say, even through thinking critically, even through away from my bias, UK top 4 is actually so doable. No cap. No cap. No cap. You guys putting 7 to 8 is criminal, actually. But that's might be partly biased. Listen. Bubbleman's getting back in his prime. Malteser is also very consistent, still very good. Rudge and Nicolebed still really solid. You did not see how well these guys did in qualifiers, by the way. I'm telling you, they played so well. And it was without a Nicolebed, by the way. Like, that's a big deal. Horn is still so consistent and improved a ton this year as well. Mahmood is actually on his peaking spree. Like, I swear to God, he's going to do so well this year. Also, Skia, this kid's actually the truth. This is his first year. This is his first year playing tournaments, and he got second in tryouts. It's an 8-star pool. He got 35k over a Colliebed. I don't know what else to tell you, man. Like, UK actually are so good this year. I think they beat Germany on a good day, depending on matchups, depending on timing in bracket. I think they beat Canada. I think they're better than Chile. I think depending on timing of bracket and depending on map pool, they can beat Australia. But I'm not going to be too over-ambitious. I already think people will see 4th as ambitious. But I still think UK top 4 is so doable. And I have faith. Let's go UK. Resident Brit, opinion stated.
Yeah, Malteser sucks ass, though. Sorry.
I'll clap at that one. That was
Sheba, blink twice if you're being held hostage to Juice UK.
Boring. You will put us 5th, 6th, or 7th, 8th.
Yeah, no. Sheba is genuinely right. Sheba's genuinely right. UK playing at their best with a good bracket, I think they can top 4. But it's just like logistically, they need that good bracket. They need to all play at their best, but this team is freaking good. UK, I think, is the other example I had where bringing in a lower ranked player, I think, is really bolstering them and their strengths. Skiatso being that 4-digit player coming in is going to be really consistent in the early stages. And as Sheba said, he got 2nd place on an 8-star tryout as well. So,
like, dude, he's crazy. He's actually
like, he's crazy. This team is crazy. Like, they have such a high ceiling. I don't know what to say.
So juiced. Unbelievably juiced. 5th to 6th to me just because of my top 4 placements. I've got to believe. I believe in Germany so much this year. I had to give them the top 3 spot, and that pushes Australia down to 4th. But the UK, man, I've seen what Bubbleman's been doing recently. Malteser has always been the worst tournament player I've ever known, but he is going to be he's going to crush it this year. Rudge, awesome, everything, and Skia is just, I had the chance to talk to him at COE, see him play. It's unbelievable. Like, this is new talent at its finest, genuinely.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with most of the stuff that's been said. I just think that there are other teams that are better, and I think UK is definitely a team that can top 6. But unfortunately, I just don't have them quite that far up. I think we've already talked about almost all of the teams, Australia, Canada, Germany, Chile, that I have above them, aside from the 2 obvious US and South Korea. So, yeah, I mean, that's really it for me. I think they're a very good team, but I just can't quite put them at top 6.
I respect your reasoning, dear. I respect your reasoning. I'll accept 7th, 8th for your reasoning.
All right.
I don't
be a Blem believer.
No.
However, I believe 4th. They're doing it, bro. I'm telling you.
However, L plus ratio plus you're wrong.
No,
however,
give this man a true. Give this man a true.
I'm crashing out seeing your placements.
All right, let's go ahead and move on to our. Actually, wait, Aaron, do you have any closing thoughts?
I got nothing. I'm just with you. It's another one where there's like Anybody from 5th through 8th can finish in any of those places. It just depends on the bracket.
All right, on to the next one. That is Georgia, first-time World Cup participant, Dark FTW, Gnawbody, Deadline, Andrea 2004, Nova, and Radmos. As with most of our World Cup debuting participants, round of slow claps. But they have a 6-player roster, and they are a first-time participant. Therefore, I think all of us are pretty quickly DNQ, and on to the next team. I will put them in the DNQ slot afterwards. Congratulations, Georgia, for getting a roster together this year. And now on to Greece. This is not the first time that they have played. I believe they played as well in 2022, this time with Jackpax, Puyu, Quotak, Bisbo, Mayim Peeps, Trushpak, Naked, and Winnie. Any thoughts on Greece here?
Jackpax OWC, pretty chill. Outside
Jackpax
of that,
good.
I don't know anything else. Jackpax chill. That's it. That's it for me, dog. Sorry.
Jackpax good.
Jackpax
for
good
me,
player.
dog. I'm
Jackpax
sorry. Listen, yeah, Jackpax is really, really good, but I can't really trust the rest of this team. I think I've heard a couple good things about Naked, but outside of that, nothing that I'm familiar with for Greece, I'm afraid.
All right, on to the next roster. That is Hong Kong. New captain this year, returning captain this year in Suwagi. Four players returning from last year with MCY4, Hibiki, Max Birio, and Tommy315. A21, F2X, Zumari all leave, but Kaga Sumire, Misha Awa, and Stalak come in for Hong Kong. I'll start and talk about Hong Kong here. This is a very good roster. This is an upgrade from last year, definitely. They were 17-24 last year, but Suwagi is back. MCY4 and Hibiki are staying, and they are still in form. Misha Awa is a new player that is really, really good. Had a lot of solid performances on a mixed country but mostly Asian team in Perennial this year. Had a couple other good performances throughout the tournament scene as well. Max Birio has gotten a lot better, so I think this is a team that has very, very solid roster changes, and for that I'm putting them 9-12 this year. Chilia.
Yeah, I mean,
a lot of variance here.
Go on, Chilia.
He's got him so low.
Now we got the two sides.
Okay,
right? The two sides.
Okay, I'll make it brief. Hong Kong did really okay in qualifiers last year. They were almost top 12. They barely missed it, but like literally by a fraction. And with Romania being the team above them and their roster this year, that could potentially just be the same because the rosters have not differed vastly in terms of overall. However, they lost their first match last year in the tournament second match, I apologize. They beat Finland. They lost to Russia, who is admittedly a super strong team. In the round right after, they lost to Sweden, the 23rd seed, 6-2. That's not a close score gap by any means in an early round pool. And if that shows that they lack consistency over skill cap. And that worries me for their early round matchups. And I think that makes them a 50-50 team between going 17th, 24th and 13th, 16th. Suwagi's a really good addition to the team this year, probably one of the best that they possibly could have gotten. But do the rest of the roster switches make up for that fact? I am unsure. I am also just a believer in Sweden, and if Sweden can beat them last year, they can beat them this year because go Sweden. So,
counterpoint to your early stage consistency, the pools are harder this year.
Oh,
bang!
Not vastly so.
Not enough. Not enough. Miles.
I'm scared of Hong Kong, man. As someone who lost to Hong Kong in 4-digit World Cup 2020, Hong Kong, they have this
Hong Kong PTSD flashback.
He's not even on the team, bro. He left the team.
They don't have Hello Tom. They don't have Hello Tom.
Blood thought he was on the team.
They don't have Hello Tom, lol, but it doesn't matter. They just have great players. They always have great players. This is the core that gets it done every year. They always have the same weakness in speed. I actually think they had like a year off of that where they had a pretty good speed team, but just they have unbelievable synergy with their top players, and they're just able to win so many different things. So I always have them as a lock on 9 through 12, especially with Suwagi coming back.
Shiba, anything that hasn't been said so far?
Yeah, I partly disagree with your point that it's an upgrade for Hong Kong this year. Granted, I'm not saying they're a bad team. I think they are still a really good team. Suwagi coming back has definitely made me a lot more confident in this team. But I feel like you losing that dynamic trio of Suwagi, MCY4, Xion is a little bit rough. You lose a lot of flexibility and consistency. Also, I think the loss of F2X is overlooked, I think. I think he was a very valuable player for their team and able to really fill on some roles that Hong Kong really suffered for with the fourth player syndrome. Zumri also losing that mechanic specialism is a sad loss, but I think still Hong Kong is a solid team. Misha Awa is really good. Suwagi is obviously the GOAT. I don't have to really worry about that being debated. But yeah, I'm putting Hong Kong 13th, 16th, but you know, if they're explosive enough, if Suwagi carries hard enough, I wouldn't be surprised if they got top 12.
Aaron, final top 12 member.
Yeah, I just think they're good. Suwagi, MCY4, Hibiki, and Mishawa. Like, they're just good. They're better than the teams that are... They're better than France. They're better than, like, Spain, Finland. I think they're better than China. Or at least as good as China. So, I put them in the same tier.
All right, solid. Let's go on to the next one.
Wait, oh god, do not clip that and take that out of context. Holy shit. I just realized what I said.
Yeah, no,
you're
no
all
out
good,
of context,
you're all
please.
good. It's okay, it's okay. We got you. You're fine.
We're talking about OSU here. All right, on to, by the way, our average comes out to 13-16 with 3 9-12, 1 13-16, 1 17-24. On to the next team, which is Croatia with the HR country code. Love that for them. Karlixon leaving. Strawfrog is the new captain. Dragoncroc, Philip, Suki, the Fart Lord, all coming back from last year. Miztos and Pressy, player 24, subbing out for Fabian, Milfi, and Trigal. I think this is a pretty quick DNQ. Aaron, do you have anything for this team?
Rip to Karlixon, who I believe was their best player, and they were already down in 56th with a sub 1 million average last year.
Yeah, Rip Karlixon. I think dude's dealing with some hand issues right now. Strawfrog is a solid player, but that's really it, unfortunately, from what I know.
Okay.
The Fart Lord, S tier username.
S tier username.
Thank God I don't have to cast him.
On to the next one. We have Hungary here with Defi, Gixaboti, Indico Light coming back from last year. 5 swaps, so 5 new members. Sisaba, Blackpoint, Barnabas, Matty K0, and Novaxi. And Hungary, I think, are in a pretty similar spot as... actually, Hungary did get 36th last year, but they swapped out 5 members this year, which...
Rip Glasswave, dude.
Yeah.
Glasswave was good, man.
Glasswave, Lexion both being gone is a rough spot for them to be in, but Matty K0 is a good addition, so...
Yeah, I agree.
All right. We'll go quickly off of Hungary and on to another team, that being Indonesia. Team that is... always talked about year after year. Lifeline, Rosemi Lovelock, Hakuikori, Dito, Mindfrost ID, that noob guy, Skydiver, and Roe subbing out for Styx and Fuma. T1G start us off this time.
Indonesia is in a really interesting spot this year. They lose, the 2 super long-time members with Skydiver and Roe being gone, but the rest of this roster was already quite strong last year, and they bring in Styx and Fuma, who are both really solid. We remember last year, Indonesia got into a really interesting situation because they were the victims of that crazy upset to Ukraine in the first round, where Ukraine beat them 5-0. And then they went on, their losers bracket to win a couple matches there, to end up top 16 anyway. I think in a normal situation where they probably, you as expected, seed top 16 and win their first round matchup, they go one stage farther. So that's why I have them in top 12 again. I don't think they got demonstrably worse, other than like later on in the tournament. As I recall, Skydiver was not amazingly impressive last year and in those matches, but I feel like was he missing for the first one against Ukraine? Somebody fact check me on that. I feel like maybe I'm misremembering that, but this is like one of those teams that it's top end of top 16 or bottom end of top 12 for me, because I think they have the players to support that kind of run, and it just depends on how the bracket plays out for them.
Okay, I have been told that Dito is back in peak form. I've been told that by Chiv, but Dito back in peak form is extremely scary. The type of player who can get high scores on everything he's good at, and that's basically almost everything except for speed. So I'm bullish on them this year. They do better than last year. I don't think they lose early again, and they still have that same core of very consistent players, which is why I'm bordering them more on the high end of top of 9 to 12. But still, I think just like this range, like between the high mid-tier teams, I think they fall right there, like with Hong Kong and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I'm putting them definitely higher echelon of 13th, 16th, but Hong Kong flat 13th. They're probably around 14th, you know, maybe 15th, but around there. I definitely have a lot of respect for this roster. Like, they have some really, really good players. Six and Fuma are solid, I'd say, but I don't think they replaced the value that Ro had for the team. I think Ro was really, really reliable on the mechanics with Lifeline on the side. Dito was, well, obviously a great player, like Miles said, in really good form. Not only is it a mix of, I feel like losing Ro takes away more flexibility than it seems, but I also think that other teams have improved more than this Indonesian team. I think the performances last year took a little bit of trust away from me from this team, because I definitely picked them up quite a bit more last year. But you know, I'd love to be proven wrong. I'd love to, really. But the placement is based off kind of process elimination plus losing Ro, me thinking is a bit bigger of a loss than it seems.
Yeah, I think really the thing is that while yes, Skydiver and Ro are very good players, so are Styx and Fuma, and I feel like that's just kind of the deal with a lot of teams, is these are, in my eyes, side grades or slight upgrades, not necessarily anything really like a bad loss for Indonesia. And this is a team that has had similar placements the past couple of years. There were a couple of teams that got demonstrably worse that's placed above them last year. They had the unlucky bracket last year, like Aaron was talking about, so I just also have them top 12. Chillier, you have them top 8.
Indonesia, good team this year.
Yes,
Indonesia, good team this year. I believe in Indonesia this year. This is such a scary roster. I have them in top 8 in my pick'ems. I believe in this team through and through. They were my like final, you know what, I'm reaching on this. They had a really good time in qualifiers last year. I think that, you know, kind of like was mentioned earlier, they were missing a couple of their really good players for the bracket stage, and that contributed to them, you know, doing a lot worse than they probably should have in their overall placement. And I also, like Miles, was aware that Dito is an absolute demon this year again. So I believe I'm with it.
All right, let's move on to the next team as I do the swap a little late here. On to the next one. The heritage country for many in the United States and Canada, Ireland, and another of our debut countries. First place. Thank you, Ireland. Thank you, Ireland.
Let's go. Let's go, Ireland. Let's go, Matty.
You have to be in the know. I'm being accused.
Screenshot this one. Screenshot this one now. There
okay, yeah. I'm being accused of being the script writer of OWC in the chat. I'm writing the fucking script, and Ireland is winning this bitch this year.
As the organizer,
they got 4 million. They got 4 million on every map. They're winning this year. They got number 1 seed. If you didn't put them as number 1, you're inting.
I do have their qualifier results. I do have.
They have Matty, who's literally the best player of all time, and they have Impressive Bear. Like, he's pretty impressive, right?
Impressive
bear.
That's a very impressive bear. So, I'm sorry.
Yeah, Matty's the... No one in OWC is bigger than their captain, Matty. That guy's a big guy, you know?
Love that guy, man.
No one lifts heavier than him.
All right, on to the next team. This one is Israel. We have a very similar roster from last year. Clash of Clans, Mr. Potato, Paniquala, Galug, Chip, Accelerator, and then 2 new players, Diddy D and White Pixel. I feel like this is a very similar team as last year, and I feel like they are probably going to do very similarly to last year, which is to say qualify and then go 0-2. Or maybe not qualify, but probably qualify and go 0-2.
I agree. They have the same solid core that got them further. They were really close to qualifying last year. I think they make it this year, and maybe a couple good close matches. But yeah, usual same core: Paniquala, Mr. Potato, and Sip. Pretty solid. Accelerator, pretty solid. Yeah.
All right. Any quick thoughts on Israel?
They are not in qualifying currently.
Go Israel, go. Have they not played yet?
No, they are in DNQ on the overall tiers right now.
That
is what that's what I mean.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
They have not played yet. They have not played.
Thank you. All right, there we go. On to the next team, which is going to be country code IN India. I believe second year in the OS World Cup. They were, I'm pretty sure, last year. Yes, they were 57 out of 57 last year. And while they have a full roster this year, I think it's safe to say going from dead last to qualifying is a very tall ask for any country. So congratulations, India, on the full roster this year. Welcome back to OWC for the second year in a row. And we wish you good luck in the qualifiers and hope to see you hopefully start to become a competitive team either in the next couple of years. All right.
Moment is a great username.
Potluck Goat, by the way. Potluck Goat.
Potluck's good.
All right, on to the next team, which is Italy. So remember earlier in the episode when I talked about a team that just completely imploded? This is the team I was talking about. There are 6 people gone from Italy this year, and they also include Ryuzaki, Arancino, and Kirochi, and Shadow Modico.
Yeah. Oh, man. Moment of silence for Italy.
At Spaza, hop in, like...
Spaza, quickly come in. Italy are on. Come. He was just about to leave. Spaza,
yeah,
I have to change it for him.
I'm sorry, Spaza. I think people will think you're oh, okay.
Guys, you gotta believe in Italy this year, okay? Trust me.
Oh,
not only are we getting... See, Miles knows. We are reaching rank 1. This 9... What are you talking about? This one guy, not this guy, man.
I'm sorry, bro.
Anyway, honestly, you've convinced me. You know what?
See, that's what I'm talking about. Italia Gurum, Forza Italia, and good night.
I had it timed perfectly, so he saw the first place.
There you go.
Okay. with Spaza leaving now, I'm allowed to quickly be honest. I have followed the same philosophy as I think with Brazil. Although this team is tragically down, I'm going to have a little bit of faith in Arjun BGM and Meows as well. I think Meows could do something really, really good. Even I know a lot of people know him as like a strong DT mechanics player, but I think he could do something magical. So I'm gonna put them that they qualify, but very, very low. Another team that I was really bordering.
Yeah, like, there are good players on this team. Ilbas Del Poppin especially, very good. Crazy Cat's another solid addition there, but it's just tough, man. A tough year.
No Kirochi.
It's really tough.
No
really,
Kirochi,
really
dude. No Kirochi's so big. Kirochi and Arg were so far up the qualifiers performing list compared to and Shadow, but unfortunately Shadow also not there. All 3 of those players were top 50 qualifying, by the way, for overall. The next closest Italian player is taking me a while to scroll to. Arancino was the next up, gone. This tells you a lot.
So anyway, bit of a rough year for Italy. Let's hope they rebuild and have maybe a better time next year. They might qualify, but it'd be a shaky road. On to the next team here. We have Japan, another team rebuilding quite a bit this year, and with some tough losses. Rollpan gone, Varvalian gone, Konkonkinakon gone, Invoker gone. Instead, now Sabakan, Laplus, Sina, and Stonebream join the remaining roster from last year. Autoline, Tichi, Ryoshi, and Rikuima. TNG, you have a rating already. Start us off.
I just always rate everybody fast, man. I've got it prepped. No, I think the 4 players they brought back are really good. And you bring in Iger, who is incredible. Like, Iger is so good, man. You bring in Sina, who is solid. Stonebream is one of the players that got to play thanks to the rank range changes. Stonebream is a 9K player who just won OJT. Dude is ridiculous. It's like Miles was talking about earlier, like the 5 digits that are getting into this tournament in a lot of cases, for at least for the bigger countries, are because they're really, really good. So I think Japan is good enough to qualify, and I think just based on, kind of the bottom end teams that are expecting to qualify, I think they can get a match. I think that's kind of just how it goes. This is a better team than I think people are going to anticipate them being.
Yeah, I agree. The new additions are definitely solid. I mean, Iger, like you said, insanely good player. Stonebream, a very, very good player, probably overlooked by a lot of people. Really, really good. I think the losses take away a ton of flexibility, but they still have a really solid core and multiple really good additions. So I still think they make it and definitely win a match, I'd say.
I initially had this team in the 17th through 24th tier. I definitely believe that that's probably where most people are going to rate them going into this. But looking at this roster, like with all that has been said, like this is an 8-player roster where all 8 players are going to be very useful on their skill sets. This is a roster where a lot of them have a ton of tourney experience. They have that like low rank consistency coming in with Stonebream, who's such a good player. Sina, everybody knows, one of the scariest DT players on leaderboards. They're way too well-rounded with a lot of star power as well. You have Autoline coming back. You have Tichi, who's been very reliable coming back. Sabakan has kind of been like heading the Japanese tournament community since Rollpan has been less active. Rikuima is an insane hard rock player. Like, I just don't feel right putting this team in the same tier with the other 17 through 24s, because this team can definitely win a couple of matches if they play well. Like, I feel like I don't have them here on my like tier list or anything, but definitely a team that I think if they play their best can reach that top 16.
Chillier, I'm going to go and then give you a chance to give the rebuttal to my 25-32.
I'll duke it out, yeah.
All right. This is a team that, yes, their replacements are all still good, but they got worse, right? Like, those 4 players that they lost were all very, very good players. Those were a lot of top performers for a long time for this team. And while the replacements are good, every single one of them is good, it is still a worse Japanese team than we saw last year. Last year, they were seed 17, yes, so I'm 100% sure they qualify, but reminder, they almost lost in losers bracket round 1 on tiebreaker to Kazakhstan.
Hey,
in
don't
seed
diss
number
Kazakhstan,
32.
bro.
Right? I actually think Kazakhstan's good this year. But they almost lost to seed number 32 last year in tiebreaker losers bracket round 1. If that team got any worse at all, they do not win a match. So I think they just don't win a match. And that's my thought process. Like, they had double tiebreakers in the first 2 rounds. They went to tiebreaker with China in the first round and got beaten there. And then they went to tiebreaker against seed 32 in losers round 1 and barely won in losers round 1. I do think there's a world where they win a match, but I think it is harder this year for them to keep up the same level.
Oh, Dio, you're supposed to make it hard for me to disagree with you. All right, let's.
That's a good argument, eh?
Okay, right, yeah, all righty. Let's jump straight into this. First of all, what are you talking about? Kazakhstan was a crazy team last year.
Damn straight.
That is literally the craziest thing I have ever heard in my life. Kazakhstan has crazy players. They won that match fair and square because they were locked the hell in. And that is a major point of Japan that we cannot let slip by. This team, over every other roster that has ever showed up to OWC, even the United States, who has been known to flounder a bit in early stages because they have been known to just think they're a really good team off the bat. Japan is the humbled up team. This team grinds and practices and shows up at full strength for every single match they have ever appeared in. And if they won, it's because they deserved it. On the flip side of what you said about them almost losing to Kazakhstan, they almost beat Germany the weekend after, only missing tiebreaker by a single map. They lost 4-6 to one of the better teams in the tournament. If this doesn't prove my point that Japan always shows up ready to freaking perform, I don't know what does. I will always believe in Japan. I think they always have good players. God, I'm depressed they don't have Con and Varv and all these other players this year, but I still think that they certainly didn't go down. I've played a multitude of tournaments against Iger, and they are terrifying. So,
true.
Yeah, like, I don't know what else to say. This team is just straight good. They will not do worse than they did last year.
All right. With that, they're 17-24 by majority vote, and we go on to the next team, which I think will be much quicker, unfortunately, for this roster, Cambodia, with Sambath, Aini, iToxic Shadow, TSP, Yusaku, Jester, and Lyskid. Not a full roster, not qualifying, unfortunately. Welcome back, Cambodia, not Colombia. Cambodia, for this is their third World Cup ever. They did play last year, and they played in 2021. But unfortunately have not qualified, and with not a full roster this year, probably not either. Any very quick 10-second thoughts?
Sambath good?
All right.
Go.
On to the next team. South Korea.
Oh. It's time.
It's time.
Okay.
Flying Tuna, Karcher, Amamiya Kokoro, Alagrisimo, worst HR player. Last year they had Restia, Parisia, and Spectre. This year they have Doomsday Fanboy, Byuk, and Fragrance of Page.
How are you putting them second? This team is
care.
sickening.
Nope, I will not
This team
fold.
is sickening, man.
I will not
How
fold.
are you putting them
Nope,
second?
USA,
Even
I will not fold.
Even T1G put them first.
You gotta
What
give
are
him
you
that.
doing?
You gotta
Don't
give
care.
him that Hyok tuna and
Bro.
spit on that thing.
Oh,
This
jeez.
team is revolting. Tuna is back in prime. Worst HR player still the GOAT. Hyuk was literally like 50% of the reason Philippines got 5th, 6th this last year. Fragrance of Page is literally getting Rookie of the Year without a physical doubt. The only
y'all have
person
fun.
who's
I'm gonna use
also
the
get it
restroom real
is
quick.
Skia. Anyway, I'm not gonna overyap because other people need to speak as well. But this team is messed up. How are you this patriotic?
Yeah,
You can only be so patriotic.
Let the men speak now, Shiba. All right.
Whoa.
Let's. No, I'm just kidding. I can't. I just can't. As much as I love the narrative, and I am excited for. I would like to preference. I'm excited for whoever wins this tournament. Any match between top 3 teams is going to be exceptional this year. I cannot willingly turn my back on my country. I just can't. I'm sorry. It's impossible. As much as I thought they had the most cringe roster reveal in the history of roster reveals, I love the way that this team comes together every year. I love that they have new talent, even if it's only one player, but that new player is one of the best, similar to the, we juiced up the UK with Skia and how awesome he was, and Pez, I think, is arguably more of a force than Skia is for the US than they were for the UK, and I just have to believe in the US again. They have not proven me wrong yet. Even with how strong we thought South Korea was last year, they still pulled through. I've been convinced. I wasn't convinced last year. They re-convinced me.
Okay, Aaron, I literally have 10 seconds, so I'm gonna give you the mic after that. But I will, because everyone has a lot to say about this team, but I will say, I think they're getting second, but if they win, it's going to be because of Fragrance of Page and nobody else. That's all.
I mean, the only reason that they didn't win last year, they fixed since then, and it required, like, a frankly biased, and I mean, you can't know ahead of time, it just ended up this way, but it ended up being a biased tiebreaker that was the reason they didn't win last year, right? any other kind of tiebreaker, and that is like a complete coin flip. Instead, it was like mechanic stream tiebreaker, and the player who was the best performer in that grand final didn't get to play the tiebreaker. Like, who knows? But it would have at least been a chance. That's the only thing that kept them from winning last year. And now they have players who can fill for that by adding Doomsday Fanboy, by adding Fragrance of Page. They had Hyuk, who's incredible at a lot of different things. Obviously, he's known as AIM player, but he's also super good at stuff like at a bunch of different tech maps and whatnot. I just think the only way US wins this year is if their plot armor shows up again, and there's a very good chance of that happening again because it's happened for like 7 years in a row. So obviously, I am not discounting the possibility of that. But if ever it was a year, we've been saying this is Korea's year, this is Korea's year, this is Korea's year. Well, damn it, this is Korea's fucking year.
Yes, damn straight. Let's go, Aaron. Let's go. I'm going to add one more thing quickly before it's not going to be too long. With respect to the 3 players that are not playing this year, that played last year, they are still solid. The 3 new additions they've had is an absolute objective, inarguable net buff. Absolutely. I don't think that's a question. But yeah, South Korea is really good. Flying Tuna has also improved massively. I think he's back in his prime. Where's the child player? Where's the child player? The rest of the core is really solid. South Korea winning this year. I am banking on it. Go, Dio.
No, I'm letting the other guys go. Go on.
We already did.
We already
did.
Okay, everybody's gone.
I'm last.
You want to hear a hot take? You want to hear a hot take? Hold on. I just remember the perennial when I think Pez got like an 800k on some like almost 8-star Grandy Senpai Nomad 1. So I'm using that to damper the Hyuk like is going to out aim everybody hype because the USA has an answer to that if he plays as well.
So true. If you saw him versus Zudinator on that Hard Rock map in NAT too, let's just all recall that one there too. Oh boy. What was that again? Unhappy Refrain, something like that?
Like them both teams having a good new aim player is not like the destroying argument to Korea winning that I
no, it absolutely is.
Aim.
You're clearly not an aim player.
Everyone calling me stupid. You need a okay. No, I can't talk because I'm also on. No.
Yeah.
No. You guys aren't dumb. You guys aren't dumb. You're not dumb. You're just blinded by patriotism. That's okay.
Yeah. Honestly, you know
you're gonna be wrong, but that's okay.
Just put Germany in first. I think this is their year.
Real. So yeah,
there's my compromise.
My take is probably not very hot. My take is that both South Korea and the United States got better. Both of their teams are objective upgrades from last year. I just think that Korea's objective upgrade is better than the US's. And the main reason I say that is because I'm just gonna double check this before I say it completely. But I'm nearly sure that Spectre did not play a single map in Grand Finals last year.
I don't think he played. I think he played maybe one map all tournament.
I did not. I agree. I did not.
I think it was in round of 32.
Yeah, he did not play a single map in all of Grand Finals. So if South Korea with 7 players can go to bracket reset tiebreaker against the United States, with 8 players who all actually scale to Grand Finals, that is just a much better upgrade than the United States upgrade. That's my reasoning for it.
I think what you're arguing is South Korea has more aura than the United States this year.
Yes.
Which is true. That's very true.
Okay, I mean, if I say what I'm currently thinking regarding aura, I will get shit on, so I'm not going to.
The United States lost their aura with that roster reveal, let's be honest. That was the part that might have lost them the tournament there, if anything.
No Munko.
Yeah, until anyone beats the US, it will always return your investment if you vote them first. They have won 8 of the last 9, so
yeah, exactly.
Stay mad, anyone calling me stupid or a troll, because I love my fucking country. I bleed red, white, and blue, and the boys are gonna bring it home. That's all I'm gonna say.
I mean, yeah, USA is like the team to beat until they're not.
Exactly.
But if anybody's gonna do it, it's this team.
And I think for most of us, the margin is not like 70-30. We know this team is going to win. The margin is like 55-45. Probably could go either way, is going to be close again, but slight edge to one team or the other, which is also why this is split 3-2, right? So that's a testament to it being close. All right.
Yeah.
On to the next team. which is Kazakhstan. This team, of course, was seed 32 last year, and they almost actually won a match. Kamenchik, Neza, Taranafis, Fake Fragrance of Page, who I think is Revexi. That's a name change.
Yeah.
So far, so good. Plumbire, and then they replaced Akira and Adia, who did not play a single map in all of bracket stage, with Conry and Hunter Thompson. And we are all putting them 17-24. Okay. Who wants to start?
Easy.
Let's go.
Dude, Kamenchik is so good. I love Kamenchik. That dude's so good.
I was really scared that I was actually going to be the mega base one and everyone else would put them D and Q or 25th, 32nd. I am so happy that everyone thinks Kazakhstan will win a match. Because honestly, like the fact that Akira and Adia literally not only didn't play any maps in bracket, but also only played one map in qualifiers. Conry and Hunter Thompson are just an objective net buff from the standpoint that they can actually do something, right? And not only that, but the rest of their core has improved generally. They're obviously very motivated considering last year. Kamachik is the GOAT. Revexi is really, really good. Plombiri is very, very consistent and a really good third man for this team. Alga Kazakhstan, they're winning a match this year.
Yep. Good roster. Wins a match. Wins at least one match.
I don't have much else to say.
Yeah,
I think they win at least one match.
It's just cool.
So
yeah.
true.
All right,
you know what I put on my sheet? I put that this is a 25th through 32nd team, but Kamenchik is the best player within any team of that range, so they go up.
Yeah, and it's not even really all that close, I don't think, in that argument. Like if you look at the other teams we're putting in that tier, like he's just so much better.
Yep. All right, on to the next team. That is Lithuania. With 6 players replaced this year once again. I'm just going to read the new roster. New captain, Fibeth, Faruda Erica, Simas KRC. New 5 other players, Ganjanov, Nitram, Edvis KRC, Hera, and Camper LT. And we are all putting them DNQ for a smaller country with a smaller player base like Lithuania. When you replace 6 of your 8 members, that is a textbook definition rebuilding year. I hope the rebuild goes well. I hope you have good team synergy and good luck in qualifiers, but this is very likely DNQ.
Just an important note for graphics, Camper LT is actually on the new roster and was in last year. His name was Transcamper before he switched it back to Camper LT. So it is actually 5.
That is 5. Camper LT is just on there twice.
Yeah. Awesome. He changed his name, which I get you. I get missing it, which is completely normal. But yeah, still same deal anyway. Yeah, same deal anyway. Just important detail to note.
Yep. So only 5 new players, but still very big rebuilding year with 5 new players. On to the next one, which is Latvia. This one, only 1 new player, but very similar roster as last year. Waywern, Day Drinking, Murzik, Ryua, Nbob, Useless John, Wablia, and Zanli. I hope they qualified just so I can cast Day Drinking in the OS World Cup, but unfortunately, I don't think that's happening.
Base.
Yeah, we have like a little.
Well. That's a banger.
We have like a little run here of teams that are just unfortunately not that strong.
Yeah.
It just kind of is what it is.
Very low key.
I
think Wavern has been playing literally since the dawn of time, by the way.
Yeah, that dude's been around forever.
That guy's got to be like an 8-year veteran at this point, at least. Yeah. Maybe even longer.
Easily.
Yeah. All right, on to the next one. That is Mongolia with a 6-player roster once again in 2024. Sigi, Rumit, Murun, Nukiowo, Tudug, and Kurisutuna. Obviously, Mongolia first place. But
Sigi is the best player of all time.
Yep. And gotta get that out there for the joke.
Easy peasy. Done.
What do you mean for the joke? What?
Shout out to Sigi getting to play in OWC a couple years in a row, but also shout out to Mongolia not qualifying.
Mongolia, there's your screenshot. Shout out plus rep for getting a team.
Good luck in quals. Bye-bye.
Grand Finals TB, Mongolia versus Ireland.
Exactly.
I love Mongolia. That's real. Dude, Sigi and Matty dueling? Oh my god, it's like Goku and Superman. You know what I'm saying?
Dude,
like
that could be Mongolia versus Ireland top match right there, grand finals.
All right, on to the next one. Macau with Chino, Fake Alex Chio, Knight 87, KNA, SBHO, and Takiri. First time that Macau has participated in a World Cup since before they were officially run. The last one was OWC number 3. Welcome back. And you have 6 players. You will not qualify. Sorry, I don't make the rules. Good luck in qualifiers, but yeah, very likely DNQ once again.
Will they get over 1 million average score?
Will they get?
And I don't mean that to be rude.
There were teams last year that did not get over.
There were 2 teams. There were 2 teams last year.
Yeah.
All right, on to the next one. It's another implosion team, unfortunately, or rather just a fall off. Mexico, no Riot, no Saint SFT this year. They still have Wolfie, they still have Camberos, they still have Alpha. They do have some good replacements, but Riot and Saint SFT last year were the carry players for this team, and it really was just those two. And unfortunately for Mexico, this feels like a very, very big drop.
And it's interesting because they have qualified for the bracket stage every year that there have been qualifiers. So what is that, 2018 or 2019 onward? They've been in the bracket.
2018, I think?
Yeah, they've been in the bracket.
2019.
They've been in the bracket every year in that time period. I don't believe they've ever actually won a match, but they've qualified, which is, you know, half the battle. And I think, unfortunately, the loss of Riot and Saint and Syros is enough to end that particular streak. One of a couple streaks. There's another one that I'll be mentioning in a couple minutes if somebody else doesn't get to it before me. But there's another one that is also in danger, but I think this one...
we know.
Yeah, this one is...
Yeah.
They still have good players, the crazy thing. Like, Wolfie, always been good. Karu is a very good hidden player. Camberos, very strong, but just not enough, unfortunately, I think.
All right, on to the next one. This time it's a glow up. Malaysia with Lunasa, Rampax, Chiu, and a hot dog coming back. 4 subs here. Wuhua, Breast, No Head, and Zeph 2003 making their way in. I'll start. Wuhua and Zeph are enough to make this team at the very least qualify. I thought I was going to have the highest rating, but y'all have them 17-24. God damn! Okay!
You have to know. Lunasa is a beast. Like, Rampax is another long-standing player, really good at speed. And Wuhua and Zeph, as you said, just beasts. I think this team definitely wins a match at least.
Malaysia...
The fact that they have Breast back-to-back with No Head.
Oh, it's amazing.
Crazy roster
team.
I mean... Listen, they were the tragedy team last year. They just barely missed out getting 33rd in 2023. So, you know, considering how close they were last year, the fact that there is an upgrade period essentially guarantees their qualification in my mind. Especially with how good the improvements are. Like Wuha and Zeth, like Dio said, that's crazy improvement. And I think they win a match with that alone. Like Lunasa, Rampax, and Chiu, all mainstays, all good players. Yeah.
Yeah, this is a solid roster. Like the upgrades that they made. I think they beat somebody. I don't know who that somebody's gonna be, but they beat somebody.
Denmark.
Could be.
And with a good
Denmark, Israel, Argentina. I mean,
all right.
I'd say they beat everyone down there. Yeah, definitely.
Yep.
Chillier, closing thoughts.
He has no thoughts. His head is
empty. Thoughts head empty. Malaysia good. Malaysia good team.
Malaysia good.
Malaysia good. On to the next one. Is Netherlands good is the question. Lily, Chillington15, also known as Manivat, Ahio, Luciano, and then 4 new players, Dolter, Femboy Feet, KDG Star, and Turtle Senpai. They replaced Kushbert, Talon, UC2, and my boy Wessel from last year. And yeah, where did I have them?
This is rough, man.
Where did I have them?
This was like this was without a shred of a doubt the single hardest team to call for me. It was so hard. I mean, you lose. They qualified regularly for quite a bit, and you still have like multiple really good players. Ahio has improved a ton. I think he is definitely going to be one of the bigger players in Netherlands this year if he wasn't already. But the loss of UC2 and a couple other players there in particular was the tough thing for me, and that made me decide finally DNQ.
Like push for UC2 and Wessel were pretty solid last year, man. But I think I think Netherlands is like one of those countries that historically they've been able to at least peak for qualifiers enough of the time that I think they can do it again this year. But it's another one where it's in that like 30 through 40 range where there's a bunch of teams competing for a very limited number of spots. I think they do it, but I think it's barely. It's like skin of their teeth, you know?
I'm in the same boat on this Netherlands team, but I've had a lot of players gassed up to me while doing my pick'em. One of these players is Aheo, formerly known as Ohio, who would complete the greatest meme username team I think I've ever seen, if that like actually stayed. But Yeah, and I mean, Manivat, Chillington 15. That guy has been such a staple for the Netherlands over these past few years that I just think, you know, with the new players coming in, they should be able to do enough. There's enough tourney experience. They're a team that, as Aaron said, they put their best foot forward always for qualifiers at least. And I think, am I wrong? This team won one of the first OWCs, no?
If they did, it was like second. OWC 1 or 2.
They were second in OWC 1, top 8 in number 2, 4th in number 3, but their highest placement since it became an official tournament was top 8 in 2014.
But hey, they won
the first 4 WCs.
Shut the... God damn it. Oh, this guy. Brain cell.
Serious shared singular brain cell.
Oh my gosh. All right. Well, I'm the other DNQ guy. I just don't think the replacements are good enough. I think UC2 and Kushper last year were particularly useful, and I don't know that any of the newer players are going to be quite as good. They were DNQ, I believe, in 2022 and top 32 last year. And I think this is kind of like Netherlands has been slowly over time having worse and worse placements throughout OWC. They'll occasionally revive here and there, like they got top 12 in 2017, and then they went back up to top 24 in 2021, but they've slowly been on this kind of downhill decline, unfortunately, for the country in OWC, and I feel like it's not getting better this year. So it would be nice to see them revive. It would be nice to see them revive and do better again, but unfortunately, I don't think this is the year.
You don't think Femboy Feet's gonna carry? What's wrong with
God
you, man?
damn it, Miles.
All right, if I ever have to hear that username again.
If I have to cast Femboy Feet this year after casting Hyok, and Hyok last year, I'm going to...
Roman and Roman as well. Yeah, Roman and Roman. That one particularly annoyed me last year. Roman and Roman, that irritated me. But
unlucky. All right.
I think Femboy Feet's better, honestly, but you know, whatever.
It's not that
I think, and you know, as long as it's not the Fart Lord.
Yeah, the Fart Lord is like the ultimate.
Damn, Shiba, you like Femboy Feet, you freaky man.
All right, anyway.
I know who I'm putting casting their first match.
All right, on to Norway. This is a team with a glow up this year for sure. Yokespie, Melver, Neneric, Anthony W, Nanalini returning from last year. GN goes away. Amai Karomo goes away. Penguinzi goes away. You might say, Dio, that kind of sucks, doesn't it? Yeah, but they got Hunder, Fiel, and Zubs, who flag changed from Brazil. If you remember last year, Zubs was one of the 3 top performers for Brazil in every single match and qualifiers for their team last year. So that is a massive upgrade for this team.
I was there when they flag changed to COE. You were there as well, Chilia. We were both there. Literally, Neneric and Defons are literally playing tug of war with Zubs to stop him from flag changing.
I watched him do it, and then I watched Defons throw him to the floor. That's what I
as he deserves. Because, you know, that might have been the reason why Brazil lost so many of their players this year. But I have a lot to say about this Norway team. Like, this is a team that, like, I think this is the most well-rounded they've ever been, quite frankly. Like, you have the best speed player in the world for tournaments. He won ESA. Like, that's the speed player 1v1, and he won that. You join Fiel and Hunder coming back, 2 very strong speed players. Now you have a top-tier speed roster that I think will hold on for at least the first half of the tournament. And then you still have that traditional strength in reading with, like, Yokespie and Antony W and Zubs as well. Zubs is actually the key to both their reading rosters and their speed rosters, because he's going to end up being on both of those. And I just really like Norway this year. They're going to do really well.
I actually think 9th through 12th is their floor this year.
Yeah.
And I would not be surprised to see them get top 8 if they get like a reasonable bracket or just perform really well. Like, this team is, I think people that don't necessarily follow along the tournament scene as much might not realize just how good this roster is this year, because they were already decently solid last year and they've just taken a level up, as you guys have discussed. Also, like, just like shout outs Nineric, dude. I feel like he gets like thought of as like, oh, he's a speed player, but dude is just overall one of the best tournament players in the world right now. And he grinds tournaments too. Like he is in so many tournaments, performing so well in all of them. Like this roster is super good this year. I would love to see them get a top 8. I think it's definitely possible, but I think the safe floor is 9th through 12th. And they are going to surprise people who are not familiar with some of these players' game.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. Nineric always is talented, but man, he's gotten so much more well-rounded this year, so much more flexible. He's definitely going to be in for a lot more maps than people would definitely see him as. The guy needs to stop being dismissed as just a really good speed player. It has to stop. Like, really, he's so much more well-rounded than usual. Great at tech, great at hard rock, great at aim. He does it, man.
I feel like we've glazed this roster so much, and rightfully so, so I'm gonna add a comedic note to this roster. The reason GN is not playing this year is because of YokeSpy, and it's not why because you think. GN plays 1 tournament per year. That's his rule. And he played YokeSpy's sight reading tournament at COE. And that is why he is not playing OWC this year. So that is why.
Hilarious.
Also, for anybody who doesn't know, because I just saw him in chat, Nanolini is Paper Candle.
Yes. Oh, that's Paper Candle. Okay,
yeah.
He's improved.
Yeah, Paper Candle's really good, man. Really good.
So solid team, and I don't think anything really else to say. Good luck to Norway, and let's move on to the next team in the bracket, New Zealand, with Tumor, Saiku, Kyujin, Ozzy, and then 4 lost members this year. Short Potato, Zoomer, It's Going Up, and Kit, all dropping out of New Zealand this year, replaced with Myeonpako, Nivako, P, and Shigon Pemi. Nivako, of course, a worthy substitute for Zoomer, my 5K GOAT. So yeah, unfortunately a downgrade, I think, for New Zealand this year. That said, I think they probably still qualify. They qualified in quite high last year at seed 19, so I feel like they should still be able to qualify even with a downgraded roster, losing Zoomer, losing Short Potato, losing It's Going Up.
Sorry. By virtue of having Saiku and Kyujin and Ozzy being a spawn, they definitely still qualify. I don't know how much.
Yeah, agreed.
Because I'm not too familiar with their new members, but still gonna be a good team.
Yeah, definitely agree.
Yeah, it's a huge loss to lose the players that they did in terms of their ability to compete for like top 16, but definitely a team that can qualify and like could take a win off somebody. Again, it's one of those like if they get a good losers round 1 matchup, they could beat somebody there. But also Tumor, aka Cat, aka Emilbus, aka like 4 other things, because that dude's just addicted to changing his name. But I think it might be enough to win a match to have a couple of those players that are returning, but it's going to be tight.
Yeah. So that'll be it for, unless anyone else has any other thoughts. Going once, going twice. Gone.
No Fofficles, no win.
And we go on to Panama with AR9, Leonard H, also known as Hammy TR, Neocraft, Cyrany, Reflection, and FRX. I believe they actually go down in player count this year from 7 to 6.
You don't see that very often.
Yeah, and as with every other non-8-player roster, I am going to say DNQ. I feel like everyone is going to say DNQ, except maybe Miles, who might put them top 32 for Hammy. First place! All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, not much to say. I mean, AR9 and Hemi are good, but not enough.
Same thing.
Hemi and Rojo are so good. Those guys are so good, but they just need help, and I don't know if they have it.
Help. 2 people need help.
Okay, and on to the next team here, which is Peru. Ooh. We have Katrick, Arnold, Missio, Hasaki, Judani, Migi, and Pra. And I am, once again, gentlemen, going to juice Peru to
You
qualify.
and your South America bias. What is up with this?
I don't know, man. Look, all right.
Arnold pilled, honestly.
Arnold pilled.
Crazy.
Just looking through tournaments this year, Katrix improved a lot, Hasaki's improved a lot, Judani, Missio have improved a lot, Pra has gotten a lot better. I feel like there's finally a bit more backing for Arnold, and I feel like that's been the limiting factor for Peru year over year, is that there's just not backing for Arnold. But if he actually has players on the team who can get reasonable scores in qualifiers, they can qualify. I don't think they win a match. I think they're like 32nd seed, but they can qualify.
Yeah.
Oh, this is so...
we always do this, Shiba.
Go, Miles, go.
Yeah, I initially had this team on DNQ, but I was always under the same belief as Dio, where if you got Arnold any help, this team qualifies. And on his research sheet, he said that there is help for Arnold this year. And I'm on the same boat as him. They probably land flatly on 32.
Okay, so in fairness, I did lock DNQ quite quickly. But in fairness, I was actually in a similar boat to Miles and Dio, thinking on the fence about this team. Because you are right, Arnold did get help. And some of these players have quite a bit improved. But I don't really envision these teams beating some of the other teams over in qualifiers. And I know that's brave to say with a couple of the teams in the qualifying list, but in fairness, I'm a little oblivious to some of these players, but this was a tough team to call, but they are a very high DNQ for me. Very high DNQ.
Yeah, same thing for me there. High end of DNQ, in with all the teams that we've talked about as being in the high end of DNQ. Arnold has some help, but I don't think it's quite enough help.
Completely reasonable. Like, yeah, it's reasonable.
There's so many where it's just like, that's so reasonable.
Yeah.
There's so many, dude. This is like the most contested. I think that's something that we've like really beaten to death, but it's like really making itself more and more obvious as we go through. Like, there are so many spots in the tiers here that are super contested this year.
Chillier, closing thoughts? Peru good enough to qualify?
Peru good, Arnold very good. So there's my reason.
All right. Let's go on to the next team, which is Philippines. The Philippines this year, of course, the big thing. Hyuk and Enri are no longer here. Miggy is also traded out. They do still have a lot of the core from last year, but if you were watching the OS World Cup last year, you will remember that a big part of the reason why this team got to top 6 at all was because of Hyuk, Enri, and Nathan Ram. Milkteism was also a big part of that, but those four really, and mainly Hyuk, Enri, and Nathan Ram were the biggest players for that team. So unfortunately, this is a downgrade for this roster this year. Milkteism, Xylos, Nathan Ram, Impowster, Zone Louise, Ramu, Icarusi, and Scene. That said, I do think there's still good members. Ramu coming in is a very strong player. Icarusi is still a very strong player. Scene is still a very strong player. So it's not like this team imploded, right? Like, they're still going to be a good team. They are still going to contest a lot of teams that are higher seeded than them. And I think they can still get top 16, personally. I think they're still a 2-2 team. Because I think that especially, like, people are going to sleep on Scene. They are going to sleep on Ramu and Icarus a little bit. I think this team can still go 2-2, but it is definitely worse than last year for the Philippines.
Man, South Korea win OWC this year, but at what cost? Fuck, man.
With the right bracket, with the right matchups, this team can get top 16. But I'm hedging my bets on that not happening, unfortunately. They still have, like you said, they do have good players still, but you just can't replace Hyuk and Enri. I'm sorry. That's like a country like Philippines, like, that doesn't have the player base of some of the bigger nations, just cannot replace players like that. Very few countries could. Very few countries could.
I was in the same boat as Dio, but I moved up Japan at the like point of contact when they like came up, and I looked at that roster. So I had to move one team down from my 13 through 16 tier, and unfortunately it just kind of has to be the Philippines here. I agree with Aaron. With the right bracket, this team's still top 16s, but I think most likely that won't really happen.
I am on the high end of 1724. I think like same thing, you know, they are likely to win 2 matches, but I think there is a world where they don't. I think the reason I have them in 17th, 24th is because I think people often underestimate what a difference a duo like Enri and Hyok make in your overall team performance. Yes, the Philippines 5-1'd Mexico and Romania in their first 2 matches last year, but they beat Russia in the quarterfinals, and they do not beat Russia with this roster this year.
Yeah.
So that knocks them down after 2 at minimum. But, you know, who knows what would have happened versus Romania without 2 players putting up FCs on almost every maps. That's a huge score difference. That, you know, 1 miss on a lot of maps brings you down to 500k. That's potentially a 1 million score difference if you don't have 2 FCs and both players 1 miss in the middle. You know, there's a lot to be said for having players like that. So I just think the gravity of these changes is far larger than what other people are seeing potentially.
I think that's a valid way of looking at it, but counterpoint, 13-16 is also you lose round of 16 and then you just win your first losers bracket round 2 match. And I think that that's a very likely scenario for Philippines, right? Like, I don't think they win round of 16 either, but I think that they are able to win their first losers bracket match in losers round 2 in quarterfinals.
Yeah, I in partial agree with Dio. I'm kind of in a similar boat to Miles, where I look at the teams, I think like, yeah, dude, like this team can make it, but like, who am I putting down? I don't think I can, unfortunately. But safe to say, like, this team is still good, man. This team is still decent. It's still all right. But having lost 2 players, I mean, this is by far like the biggest 2-player loss I've seen. You know, like so little amount of players, so massive.
Team coming up.
Well, we are talking about team coming up, but that's more of like you know, we'll get to that. We'll get to it
right now.
Hell yeah, right now.
So that team we're talking about is Poland. Malashevsky is gone. Their new captain is Shedis, who is also a new player. Rafis Mustache and Tomas Sheik, formerly known as Kasia Barwik from last year, are back once again. Bartek, Mishny, Nahus, and Rafal are also all gone, replaced with BMG, Agent 5D, Kosyarek, and Tardis. This team is still good, right? This team can still contest a lot of the other teams in this tournament. They are still good players. But compared to last year's roster, this is a big downgrade, right? This is a team that qualified 2nd last year. You are not going to expect the same kind of qualification or potential from this team this year. That said, they do still have a very good roster, but like hard to get top 12, I think.
Yeah. And it's just rough, man. Like, I feel for Poland in the way that their OWC history has just been this crazy roller coaster, right? Like, they win 2017, they don't get through groups in 2018, then they kind of climb back up and put together these really strong rosters that still kind of underperform, right? Like, last year getting, you know, top 8 after qualifying 2nd? With that roster that they had last year, with Malashevsky, with Nahus, with all the others on this list, like, I can see why you'd be a little less motivated the year after having all that happen, and to know that Malashevsky's stepping away for, you know, IRL reasons. Like, I sympathize with them heavily, and there's just players that you can't replace. It sucks. I feel for them.
I get what you're saying. Small fair counterpoint though, in fairness, like they did lose to Australia in a really, really tight tiebreaker map, and you know, Australia ended up getting 3rd. Poland definitely have a deceptively high result last year, even though unfortunately they ended up underperforming against USA, which I can agree with. I think they didn't get the potential last year. Had this just been, I'd say, Malashevsky's Bartek Michny loss and having Nahus and Rafalin instead, I would have probably still put this team top 12. But this complete collapse, and again, like we've said, the new additions aren't terrible. They are still solid, just not nearly close to the prestige that I would have had. And of course, Malashevsky is without a doubt the biggest single player loss in a team period.
You're talking about this like it's Taiwan going from like perennial top 12.
Hey man,
contenders to
hey
DNQ.
man.
No,
I know.
I'm not talking. No,
I get it.
this is not
But
like
you need to
Taiwan.
give-
Absolutely not.
You need to give
No.
some credit to Poland that has a deceptively deep like talent pool in their country. I recently got to cast a match with Shedis and Kosiarek for the first time. Kosiarek, I think is how you pronounce that actually. But like those guys are good. Like this team is still good. We're rating them 13 through 16, which is a great rating for any team.
Yeah,
like
man.
they still have freaking.
That's what I'm
they've
saying.
got Rafis, Mustache, Tomasz Sik is back. Like we're gonna get to see some Polish players who we usually never get to see. And, you know, we don't know if Malashevsky comes back next year, if those guys who are gone from last year's roster come back, but we're going to get to see something new this year from Poland. And, you know, I think 13th through 16th, we're all in agreement of this, is a fine result for them.
Extremely fine.
Agreed.
It cannot be understated. It hurts to lose the #1 player in the tournament from last year, basically, with the exception of the grand finals teams and how well people like Worst HR player played. It hurts, and losing a lot of your legacy roster, I think, is just going to shift the way that people look at Poland rather than how strong they are. Losing players who have been around for as long as Bartek, Nishny, Nahus, and Rafal have been around, you know, it's tough. But like Miles is saying, this is still a good rating. These are still good players. I just played a tournament against Agent 5D. Very good player. A good addition to this roster alongside everyone else. They have stuff going for them, but it will be a much harder battle without Malashevsky dropping the scores he did out of qualifiers, because obviously they're going to qualify lower, which means they have a harder bracket off the bat. Getting second place in qualifiers makes a significant difference in your early round matchups. So that's a big point there.
Yeah, shout out to all the new members as well. These are people who have been playing 3-digit World Cup, 4-digit World Cup for Poland for quite some time now, and have been kind of going through the talent breeding pipeline, if you will, right? Like this is how they grow their talent in Poland. So we'll get to see the new talent this year, and hopefully they surprise and do better. But I think the expectation is about a top 16 finish, which is still the top half of all the qualifying teams. So good luck to Poland. On to the next team, Portugal. We have Alfred the Salmon, Just Too Good, Dolphin, WhatsApp, Rafamat, Mizuru, Seat Iziba TDI, and Big Yikes. White Car, Quale, Netiz, and Maki Donalds leaving the team this year. Very sad story for those who don't know. Maki Donalds was unfortunately hit by a car earlier this year and passed away, which is why he is not playing. There was a big fundraiser that went on for his family and everything, so there was a lot of really good stuff that went on post-mortem to help out the Portuguese community and his family, but unfortunately one of the mainstays of the Portuguese tournament scene is not going to be there, and that is definitely a blow to Portugal's roster this year.
They have to qualify, bro.
Yeah, it's like they're the emotional pick.
Yeah, like, and they have the talent to do so too, if you've been paying attention enough. Like, Chiv put me on this guy, Rafamat. He's the hope this year. He's really good for Portugal, and WhatsApp as well has been getting better, playing more tournaments. And they have some players coming back. Mizuru, one of their like OGs, is coming back. And Sia Ibiza TDI, I play HDHR. That guy is on so many leaderboards. Like, I think this roster, like, they can do it. They have to do it for Maki. They definitely can do it. So I have faith that they do it, because they have to.
Yeah, I mean, what I think is 100,000,000% not what I hope, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, rest in peace, Maki. Guy is an absolute legend, for sure. It's great to see the community come together for him. If I'm looking objectively, I believe DNQ, but I would be, to say the least, elated to see this team qualify. I would be elated, man.
Yeah, my heart says top 32. My brain says DNQ.
Yeah.
So
same here.
Yep.
I am in agreement.
Yeah.
I am also in agreement of a couple seconds of pause for Maki right now.
Yeah. So with that, we will move on to the next team in Romania. Another team with a bit of a rebuilding year. 4 players gone. Badu, Kamoziala, Howpleb, and Raze all off the roster this year. Lucrece, Eternum, Rolly, and Sylvian coming back once again, joined by Nanoya, a returning member. I believe Hest, Alex, Balea, and have already played. I think this is Origin's first time playing, though.
I'm in agreement. I think this looks like a good Romania roster. Very sad to see the loss of Badu and Kemo. I think they are extremely good players for that roster. Kemo is a long-time tournament player, and especially a big face for Romania, has been for a while here. But they have amazing talent continuing to exist on the team. Lucrece, Eternum, Broly, Sylvian, the 4 players that are returning from last time. Nanoya is a ridiculous addition to this roster, having not played the year prior, and the fact that Romania made it unfortunately short last year due to a loss to the Philippines in the round of 16 and a very, very tough loss to France. I see zero reason why they don't push top 16 this year with this roster.
I'm gonna just quickly change my mind and shift a few teams after looking again at the rosters. I agree with Julia. I'm gonna change this because I had a team up there and I was like, again, okay, maybe they can go down. It's safe to say though, like losing Badu and Raze is really, really tough. But like you said, the new talent coming in and on top of Nanoya coming back is really solid, and I respect that you still have the trio of Lucrece, Eternum, and Rolly, who are also really, really good. And so yeah, after just double checking my my tier list again, I agree. I think Romania can get top 16.
They're good.
Good team.
Dio has. I know Dio has a particular thought on what Badu does.
Basically, my thought is that they could have had a similar run to 2022, but with no Badu on the team, you lose the target ban Badu aspect of pick ban phase that helped Romania flourish as actually a mechanics team for the last several years. Like the rest of this roster just plays mechanics. They don't really play all the reading and aim control stuff that Badu does. But just having him on the team was enough to force Hidden 2 or Nomad 5, 6 bans out of other teams onto Romania. So you lose that and it becomes a little bit harder for Romania to like capitalize on their strengths in bracket stage, which I think does matter. So I think that they could have had a better run this year if they had a similar talent to pull bans away from the real strengths of the roster, which was the case, I think, since about like 2021 with Badu on the team.
I agree. Counterpoint. Slot pooling is dead.
That is true. That is true. That means mechanics are less common, unfortunately, for Romania.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. This team, they're getting first place in map pool feedback, but 13 to 16, I think. In the tournament.
Oh, brutal. Yeah, especially with Curtis gone this year.
Oh, it's out. All right. On to the next team after Romania. It is Serbia. We have a team that did not play last year. Chepi, Skylul, How to Play, Petar, Lazy, Stava 2004, and Homing Lessie. This is a 7-player roster. Congratulations to Serbia for having a roster, but you know what that means. Yes. Full DNQ.
Congrats Serbia for getting a roster.
Alrighty.
One thing to say, shout out Skylul.
Julia?
Yeah, Skylul's good.
Is that
okay?
Are you
speaking a 7-team roster or 7-player roster?
I'm a Serbia believer.
Okay, explain.
This country hits different. They just have that vibe. I don't know what it is about them. I'm just ready for it. I have them ready.
They have Chippy.
They do.
Isn't How to Play quite good? Or am I getting that mixed up with another player? Because I've heard good things about someone.
They have a couple of decent players, but it's just 7 players. You're not going to qualify. I'm sorry.
I go based on aura.
All right. They've got the aura. On to the next team, though. After Serbia.
Fuck, Kingling. What the hell?
After Serbia, we have Russia. Russia with 7 returning players, and Din traded out for Ice Shark. Very happy to see Markram back here once again. He was originally going to be taken off the roster because he was drafted into the military, but apparently avoided that somehow and is back here to play the OS World Cup once again. So good to see that did not pan out the way that it initially was going to.
Thank God. Thank God.
So Russia had like the worst luck of anyone last year. They got the Philippines in the quarterfinals in winners, and then straight into Germany in losers bracket round 4, who they lost to on tiebreaker. I mean, like, that is just brutal stuff after qualifying 4th, finishing top 12 because of that back-to-back matchups. That is some serious bad luck, but like, this team is really, really strong. I mean, I feel like everything that was true about the team last year in terms of their strengths just remains true. Like, yeah, they have Scroll, who's really good. They have Ciccone, who's really good. They have Welter Gamer. Like, all of these players are super good. And I've heard nothing but like effusive praise for Ice Shark as their new member. I feel like there's always this discussion that we have about Russia and the semifinals because they just seem like they're capable of getting that far, and then they can get no further. It seems to happen fairly reliably year in and year out, but I don't know. I feel like this is the time for them to get top 6.
My thing with Russia is the second most consistent team in the history of OWC behind the United States. You can always bet on the United States to win, and you can always bet on Russia to at least get top 8. Like, they have so much consistency across their skill sets. It's just like, when the clutch moments come, like, they just don't get them, and they need to get that this year. I put them at 4th last year because of how talented they are. I think their ceiling with a good bracket is top 4 once again, but like, they just got to do that. Like, you get put in a tiebreaker situation, you get a tough matchup, you got to win it. And this year, I hope that happens for them, but in good faith with the other teams still remaining, I have to put them at 7-8.
Yeah, I would say they kind of have to go 7-8 in what we have here, because we don't have a slot in 5-6 for like those of us who are picking them in 5th, 6th. Like, they can't go there, but that's where I have them in my personal rankings.
Yeah,
go on, John. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, I was just gonna say my thoughts are, this team is, they definitely have the potential to place higher. I feel like they are about as strong as the teams that are in 5, 6, 7, 8 that we already have. I think that I think Canada, Chile, Germany are stronger, and that's why I don't have them any higher, but I feel like they could be anywhere from 7, 8 to potentially 4th on the best of days. But it's hard to predict exactly where they end up. The only thing I do have questions about with Russia is the roster composition. From what I know about Ice Shark, just based off knowledge that some people more involved in the 5-digit tournament scene than me gave me, he tends to be strongest on Hard Rock and then still solid on DT. He is an all-rounder, so can play some of the more like reading focused stuff, but I feel like Markram in particular, with the low approach rate, doesn't have really anyone else on the team to play those types of maps with him. So there are still holes in the roster composition for me, which is something that I don't see in the teams that I have rated higher than them. And that's what I think holds me back a little bit from putting them 5, 6 or higher.
Yeah, no, I respect that. Yeah, I agree with what everybody's already said. I need to add about that in particular. Just a question, because I was really curious about your guys' thoughts on this. Russia placed very high in qualifiers specifically last year in 2023. Do you think that with the loss of Philippines and Poland this year, do you think that will potentially get them a slot in top 3 for qualifiers? Because I think if they get a very high bracket through their qualifiers results, they might actually be able to push further than they usually would. What are your thoughts on that? Because I think that's a really interesting topic that I haven't heard people talk about.
I think getting top 4 is the same value as getting top 3.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because you get your own quarter of the bracket if you get top 4. So it actually doesn't matter if you get 4th or 3rd. Okay. Like, you're gonna get one of the top 2 teams in semifinals, but other than that, it really doesn't change anything to get 4th or 3rd. And I don't. The only thing that would matter was if you go from 4th to like top 2. But 4th to 3rd is irrelevant, generally speaking, in terms of your bracket position. And this is something that I've observed like as an IRL sports watcher in addition to OSU.
Okay.
Just kind of the nature of brackets. That's my take on it, at least. I mean, people feel free to disagree with me, but.
Oh yeah, no, that's fine. I'm not really too sure about like exactly how significant it is, but I was just curious what you guys thought about it. Yeah, that's fine. Thank you. It's fine.
Chillier, you also have them 5-6. Thoughts?
Not much to add that hasn't been said. I am going to go on the flip side and say that my confidence in Russia is from their existing roster, not from their newest member. I think that the improvement of the existing players on this roster is going to be what sends them to 5th to 6th. Scrowell has been having the year all from the start. He was the #1 player for Russia last year out of qualifiers, beating Ciccone, and that trend has seemingly continued through the last, I believe, Russian Osu Cup, where Scrowell ended up winning the tournament over Ciccone in a not close fashion as far as I was concerned when I saw the score, which just proves that the player who we already thought was kind of the GOAT of Russia is more of the GOAT of Russia right now, which is really good for their chances in late stage. We already talked about how much of a difference having a really solid top 2 can make. We saw what the Philippines did with Yak and Henry. I think Russia can do the same thing with Scrowell Ciccone, backed up by some very, very confident supporting players.
Okay.
I agree. Game has also improved a ton.
Yeah, it should be solid. They should have a very good year. I think for me, again, 7-8 is the floor, and I don't think they ever placed lower than that. But it's tough to bet on top 6 when they have not been top 6 in since before 2020. Actually, I think the last time was 2019 and 2018. They were 5-6 and 4th place respectively. So it's been a while for this roster and for this country to get out of semifinals. All right, on to the next team, which is Sweden. Another country we'll probably talk about for a little bit. Skilla, Andros, Yagako, Phelan, and Seapin, formerly known as Spinks, coming back from last year. Tony Reno, Grippa, and Reedcat subbing out for Trumpetino, Lightning Fox, and Melwim. This is a team that retained a lot of really solid members. They had a really tough time in qualifiers last year and proceeded to make the dark horse run of all time, qualifying in, what was it?
23rd.
23rd? Yeah, thank you. 23rd and getting top 12 with 23rd seed last year. I think that they have a very similar roster. Trumpetino, Lightning Fox, Melwim, all very good replacements for Tony Reno, Grippa, and Reedcat. And they should be able to make a similarly deep run. I don't think quite as deep, but I do think they get a win or two.
Wow, a lot of parity.
Oh wow, 17-24 from you guys, really?
I'm right in the middle. Let's go. So gotta be right.
My problem with this selection at this point is based on what our current tier list looks like, because I can't in good faith pick them top 12, and 13th through 16th is already full. So I by default have to put them in 17th through 24th, and I don't want to do that because I actually think they should be in 13th through 16th. But whatever, here we are. I don't think they make the run they did last year again, quite frankly. I think, like you said, they're still solid. I just don't think you catch lightning in a bottle like that 2 years in a row. I think they overperformed. I mean, they obviously overperformed their seed, but I think they, they were the beneficiary of some matchups that I don't think anybody expected them to win, and I don't know that they would necessarily win against this year's iterations of the same teams. So I don't know. I mean, we can't have 5 teams in that tier, so we're gonna have to figure it out. But that's why I'm picking them 17th or 24th. It's literally just based on what we have here. Otherwise, I'd have them in 13th, 16.
I am in the same boat where it's like they can certainly get to that 13, 16 tier. I'm not sure what you guys are on with the 9 through 12, but I'm gonna sort my sheet by which teams I think are most likely to overperform and go above their tier. If any team is taking out any of the teams I have at 13 through 16, it's Sweden. They have Scylla, so freaking strong, and Phelan backs him up on his skill set, so they have a core to pick around. And then they also have, I think, that strength in hard rock that they like to pick for. Actually, optically speaking, I have this team very similarly put to France, where you have your top carry who's kind of a gimmick specialist. Like Scylla, I compare him to Ekoro, where super strong at Gimmick, also an all-rounder, but then the rest of your team is also really strong on Hard Rock. And I have those 2 teams optically put on like the same tier, but I already have 4 teams in 13 through 16. I don't know if they outperform Romania, Poland, Philippines, or France. So I have them at 17 through 24, but I would not be surprised in the freaking slightest if they go up a tier.
Chilo, do you have anything particular you want to say with the 9 slots, or do you want me to go?
Sure. I'll
is a Sweden fanboy.
I am Swedish.
Yeah, I know you're a Sweden fanboy.
In fairness, I will gas up Sweden as I do. Scylla is and has been the best tournament player in Sweden for a very long time. He is exceptional at the game. He is better than a lot of players that are in this tournament. Had a rough time in qualifiers last year, which is why Sweden placed so low in qualifiers, actually. Andros has been significantly more consistent this year on the mechanics and across the board than they were last year by a pretty decent margin. Yagako always shows up and does exactly what they need to do for matches. You don't always see them in for everything. They're more of that speed roster player, but they will show up and do what they need to do. And then with the additions this year, on top of Phelan and Sipin, who is actually Spinks, for those who are unaware of the name change, Trumpetino is ridiculous at the game with double time speed. This is a really, really good thing for Sweden because they have a good speed roster that was missing that 3rd and 4th super strong player. And if you can at least pull a 3rd in at the minimum, that increases your chances of winning a map drastically. That's on top of adding someone like Melwem and Lightning Fox, who, like, I am admittedly slightly less informed about what their primary skill set is. I am fully aware that they are a player that was allowed to play based on the rank increase. They are above rank 5k, so I'm interested in seeing what they're able to pull out here, but I will continue to believe in Sweden. I think that they are better than at least half or more than the 13th, 16 teams, and that's enough for me to put them in 9th, 12th.
Yeah, I'm in partial agreement to Chelia. Although I think losing Tony, Reno, and Reedcat, I think it does suck a little bit. I'd still like to think that the changes they got are still solid. Part of the reason why I put them in top 12, to put it simply, it is quite a high rating, and I'm aware of that. But I tend to look at the teams that I have in 13th, 16th, and 9th, 12th, and I do think, okay, Sweden, I'd say, is more favored on the 13, 16 teams that I have put down, and I think they can put up a good fight against the teams in the top 12, and that, I believe, as the roster on paper. Of course, you can take into account the bias of that miracle run that they got last year. It was a really good run. They played really well. They earned it, but it is a ceiling pick, but I still think they can get top 12, and I'm firm on that.
Okay. We're going to keep them in 13-16 for now. I know there's 5 teams, but we'll figure it out after we're done with the rest of the teams. So with that, let's move on to the next team on the docket, Singapore. We have Tebi, GS Blank, Dawnwing, Eagle, Qstronaut, and then they lose Emilia, Demonical, and Yellow, and they gain Hollownese, Micaiah, and Wick. I'll start. I think losing Demonical's pretty big. They were able to get a win last year without Demonical playing the match. It was against Mexico in losers bracket round 1, but I don't know if they qualify as high. They were seed number 21 last year. I don't know if they qualify as high without Demonical. So I think that their losers round 1 match gets harder, and I think that probably means they go 0-2.
I fully agree with you. I'm in the exact same boat.
I think they're still good enough to win a match. I think it's another case of this for me where it's like I'm looking at the teams in 17 through 24, looking at the teams in 25 through 32, and I think even with the loss of Emilia, Demonical, and Yellow, I think having Tebi, GS Blank, Dawnwin, Eagle, Qstronaut, I don't know much about the new players, I'll freely admit that. I think having at least those 5 and whatever the remaining 3 bring to the roster, I think is enough to beat some of these teams in the 25th through 32nd tier. You know, if Peru gets through, if Netherlands gets through, whatever the case may be, I think this roster can beat those teams, especially on, you know, a first or second stage pool. It's gonna be second stage pool most likely.
I'm with T1G in the 17-24th. I think that Demonical is an exceptional player. I have had both the pleasure and the horror of playing against them in multiple tournaments because they are very good at the game. However, I don't think that compared to the rest of the players on the Singapore roster that are remaining and that played last year, Demonical was that much of a game changer that this roster is significantly affected by it. I absolutely believe they still win a match. I think that they could even qualify in the same spot they did last year if they play well.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'd have to look at the qualifiers MP link from last year, but yeah, I think, and just for comparing teams, I do think they're probably the best team that I have in 25-32. Like, I think they're better than any of the other teams in 25-32 right now, but I think they're worse than the teams we have in 17-24. Aside from maybe Spain. They might be able to beat Spain.
Yeah.
But I do think they're worse than the other teams that we have in 17-24, and that to me is the decider. Is like, if I can't see them beating more than like 2 of the teams in there, probably tough for them to get the win.
Did you guys know that out of 22 maps in qualifiers last year, Amelia only played 3 of them?
Oh, yeah, wow. Amelia was not that big. That's why I didn't talk much about Amelia.
Yeah. I did not realize that until I just went and looked it up. I'm like, what the heck?
Yeah.
A bit strange considering how popular of a player he is.
Yeah.
Isn't it? It's a bit
weird. Former rank 1 from a long time ago, I believe. So
I don't think he was never ranked 1.
It was very close.
He was ranked 1 global? I knew like there was a point. I know there was a point that he got top 10. I know there was a point that he got top 10.
Highest was somewhere between like 5th and 10th.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm on the same boat as Zio for this team. Like, I just don't see them beating too many of the teams we have in 17-24.
He peaked rank 7.
Okay, yeah. Literally between.
Yeah.
Between them.
I know he was top 10, but rank 1, that's crazy to me.
Yeah. People sleep on Tebby a little bit too for Singapore. I think Tebby has
always been
so good, dude. So good. We need to talk about Tebby more.
Yeah, Tebby's
underrated player. Underrated player for sure. Tebby's definitely the carry player for this team this year.
Yeah. I've talked about Tebby in previous years, but yeah, he's very, very good. Has been playing rank restricted and all that for a long time. It's just
did very well in LGA in particular. It's a tournament that was really notable this year from him.
Was the second best player for Singapore last year in qualifiers.
Okay, let's go ahead and move on to the next team, which is Slovenia. This is another World Cup debut team. We have Cyrek, Sniper Elite, Mr. Spike, Fixer, Rover Black, as opposed to Black Rover, Tim Timio, Damjan Lenk, and CI Kaster 129. And as with most of the other debut teams throughout the years, probably a team that is going to struggle to qualify.
Credit where credit is due, Cyrek and Sniper Elite are very good players. This is very similar to me to a couple of other teams where it's 2 and then I don't know what happens after that.
Shoutouts to Slovenia for being maybe the best cycling nation in the world. Yeah, unfortunately, that does not translate over to OSU. You can have Tadej Pogačar and Primož Roglič and etc. all you want, but that doesn't make you good at OSU.
Why didn't you make this argument for Serbia for tennis?
You know, I debated mentioning tennis when we were talking about Switzerland, to be honest, but
you can't mention Djokovic without Serbia.
Yeah.
All right.
On Nadal and Alcaraz.
Yeah.
On to not the best cycling country in the world, Slovakia. Big changes for Slovakia this year. Yo-Yo and Terra Chrono stay on from last year. 6 new players: Enchanted Spider, Jake Boy, Pete X, Seviad, SNK, and Athion, the mapper Athion.
Wow.
Wow.
That's banging.
They lose Haranolka, they lose TKF, who I think were
brutal.
Probably the 2 best players on their team.
Oh my god. Those guys showed up every year. Unfortunate for them. But hey, Athion.
Yeah, they were a bottom 4 team last year in qualifiers. And they got rid of their 2 best players, probably. Yeah, I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah. All right. Well, good luck to Slovakia, and on to the next team, Thailand.
Ooh.
This team is really
Sleeper
Really
country,
interesting.
by the way.
Yeah,
I agree.
Vesperi, Depiforce, Soft Bunny, Kadama, Master, Chests all come back from last year. Freeze and Minecrafter sub out for Hinamon and Miner. Meaner?
Meaner?
I don't know.
Maybe
how to
let's not
pronounce
say
it.
minor.
Maybe meaner.
Miner as in Minecraft,
Yeah,
obviously.
there you go.
I'm gonna stick to meaner.
Wait, minor
Yeah.
is in Minecraft to replace Minecrafter. Hang on, did anybody
Wait,
research if that's a name
Minecrafter
change?
instead of Miner?
Is
There we
that
go.
Hey, yo.
actually like a replacement, or is that just a name change?
I think that's
It
a real
is.
replacement. Let's.
It is.
That's it. No, that's actually a different
It's a
person.
real
That would have been really
replacement.
funny.
is
That would have been
They
really funny
all-
though.
They almost have the most aesthetic thing ever, by the way. Global ranking 1113, country ranking 11. That was almost there.
close.
Oh,
Gain
that's
2 ranks.
cool.
Gain 2 ranks.
Yeah.
17th to 24th last year.
I'll quickly just start by saying that Thailand was the team that I moved down from 13th, 16th to put Romania over. I think this team's like, again, like Aaron said, like mega sleeper, man. This is a
Thailand
good
is this
team and
year's
so
Ukraine.
underrated, dude. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, man. They're gonna be like early stage fiends in this tournament.
Shout out to Vesperi, just had his new top play, I believe, like earlier.
Yeah,
today.
first 900.
Oh, that's good for
First
them.
900. Yeah,
I'm
good-
making
good
an
buff,
adjustment.
good buff.
I'm making an adjustment because I just looked at their bracket from last year and now see why.
They
They
got
faced the
USA
United
first
States
round.
in the first round. Yeah.
Yeah.
That I am now making my modification based on that because
And then
I
they
was
beat-
unaware.
And then they beat New Zealand on tiebreaker.
Yes.
Yeah, when that was with 2 FCs. They had double
Yeah.
FC'd that tiebreaker against New Zealand to win that match. And then they lost to Ukraine, which is interesting because those, I think, are kind of a similar storyline between those two countries.
A little bit.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think this is a 17th or 24th team.
I don't think too much to say about this. I mean, very similar roster to last year, so I expect similar results. Any closing thoughts before we move on?
Shout outs, Depiforce gonna FC both hiddens and qualifiers, and then play no other
That's
match.
so true.
And Chess,
Yeah, the Air
Chess,
7.5 hidden, bro.
one of the
Yeah.
low at combo gamers of all time, Chests. Like that guy's a great combo gamer. So shout out to those two.
I can confirm Deppy's got some competition right now for hidden though. Just saying. Just saying.
Just saying.
Just saying. All right, on to the next team. That is Turkey. We have Raikaho, Yevi, Shinkiro, Orke, Lear, Clutch X, and then Gilrain and the Mikatsu sub out for Lieri and Spray. Yeah,
Well, this is
very similar roster to last year.
Turkey is perennially another one of those teams that just seems to always qualify, and then
Always.
they don't.
Yeah.
They don't generally speaking win matches, but they pretty much always qualify just on the strength of the roster. And we're gonna start to get into some rough spots here because this is like everybody's picking them to qualify, and we have a spot in 17th through 24th, which requires them to win a match, and I don't know if they do that.
Yeah.
You and I, we win. We win this. We win this year.
Surely they win a match this year. I think
Definitely early.
yeah.
They
Part
definitely
of the
got
reason
early.
for me is that like some of the other players have gotten better. Shinkiro's gotten better. Lieri is a good addition. Orke is solid as well. Raikaho is just continually getting better all the time. So I feel like it's maybe enough to win a match. They are 24th, 25th for me, like that kind of a team. But they might have that dog in them this year. They might be able to win a match.
Remember what I said about Kazakhstan being like a 25th through 32nd team, but Kamenchik is the best carry player. This team is in a similar situation, but with Raikaho, and I completely agree that they're probably like, I have them on the same level as Kazakhstan as a team. Like they could win a match, but by virtue of not having enough space in 17 through 24 on my sheet, I have them in 25th through 32nd because they have the super carry and they have the backing players. But in terms of synergy between the roster for skill sets, I'm not too sure what they pick apart from like Hard Rock.
Turkey good.
Turkey good.
Turkey's
Pick whatever
good.
Raikaho can
Turkey-
carry.
They will-
Turkey-
Turkey is the
Yeah.
like Russia equivalent of qualifiers in my mind. They will always qualify. Russia
That's
will
real.
always get top 8. Like this is the way.
Real ones remember when USA lost 3 maps in all of 2019. One of them was a no
That was
Margarita
the
Turkey.
Turkey in round of 32.
The pirate, whatever.
Yeah,
no.
the first. It was something like that.
It was Oedo Ranvu in round of 32.
It was Oedo Ranvu.
Oh,
That's great. Yeah.
Wow. Round of 32 though, doomed from the start. Our switcher has left.
He's
Do we
back.
just move on?
Welcome
Okay.
back.
I'm back.
Here.
Hello. Yeah, I was going to say, speaking of another team that pretty much always qualifies, next up is Taiwan,
Oh,
who
man.
imploded this year.
Man.
The only
This is an
returning member
implosion.
is Willie from last year, if the graphic is correct here. They have Imakura as the captain, Neko Kamui, Flyer, Miaosun, Ryaya, and Summer Owu. They lost Shield, they lost Riser, they lost Slow. I don't remember which one is Shield and which one is somebody else.
Is this a 7-player team?
I think
This
they
is a
have
7-player
8.
team, I think
think
now,
they
but-
have 8. I need to go check. I thought they had a full roster.
I think they got. I think they got somebody like last minute.
Oh,
I'm pretty sure.
Dialstrophism was going to be their 8th, but he is currently restricted.
Oh
is-
yes,
okay.
we don't talk about that.
That is
Fiasco.
true.
I will
That's
hold my
no
breath,
shitstorm.
but
No, they do have
As-
8. They have somebody named Kairos. It's KYROS_.
Okay.
As their
Oh.
8th. I had to go
Okay,
check the
so
wiki.
they
So, like,
were,
I'm pretty sure
able
they
to
added
add
an
somebody
8.
else. Okay.
So the streak. Taiwan has been in the bracket stage of every single World Cup there has ever been. And-
Except 2015, they were group stage. That's the
Are
only
you-
one. That's the only time.
Why did I not
Oh
see that?
no,
I
I'm
check
sorry.
every
I'm
year.
looking at Russia. I'm so bad.
Okay, I'm like,
Yeah,
I
my
checked
bad.
every
No,
year.
you are correct. Every single year.
Yeah, they've
bad.
been in every single bracket stage OWC has ever had. And I think this is where that comes to an end because I don't even know what happened. Somebody with insight into the Taiwan community would have to explain this. Like, what has happened to their team? It was like 3 years ago when they were like a top 8 team, and
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Imakura was forced back to play again. Like, that's how you know they're really going for the legacy players. That's like,
yeah, it's tough. I was always a Taiwan believer, but now like it's just kind of sad.
Yeah, very unfortunate, but I think this is the year Taiwan does not make the bracket stage for the first time. We'll see if they are able to keep the streak alive, though. I hope they keep the streak alive. That would be cool. If even after swapping out 6 players, or 7 players, they're still able to keep the streak alive. That would be cool. So I hope they do. I don't think they do, but I hope they do.
Willie has to lock in.
so true. They need Rucker back. Rucker needs
Yeah.
to appear right now.
Oreo,
Right
bring him
now.
back.
Long
Bring him
on.
back.
True.
All right, on to the next team. That is Ukraine. This time around
I hate these name
with
changes.
Shadow Freak, aka Magnata Gamer 123, Roman, Raf GPO, HP Deskjet 3835, aka Shari Tori. But this year, no Dench, no other Roman, whose name I don't remember, no Taras, and no Unaval. They instead have Crimea, Criterion, King GG, and Kirby Twister. I'll go first. I think this is a pretty rough downgrade for Ukraine this year. Losing Dench is tough. That is the best player in the country. That is the best player on the team. I think they do go down from last year. I believe they finished top 16 last year, if memory serves.
Yeah.
yeah, I have them in 13th through 16th in my personal rankings because I think the players that they have are solid from last year, and I think they brought in like some pretty reasonable players, right? Like, I mean, like Criterion, very good. King GG, pretty good. But I think 17th through 24th seems pretty fair here, so like no concerns there.
I initially had them in 13 through 16, but we have so many good teams that it feels like they needed Dench to be in that tier of like top 16 teams in OC World Cup.
Yeah.
I think that a lot of them have gotten better. Like Shari Tori is insane. Roman and Raf GPO are both still like really good carries, but they're going to need a crazy overperformance, I think, or a really good bracket if they want to scratch that top 16 again.
Yeah, I agree. I think for me, 17-24 is more of a minimum pick in my mind. I still see a bit of potential. They still have some good upgrades like Aaron mentioned Criterion King GG. I've also heard some very positive things about Kirby Twister. I've heard he's also a very solid player. So I'm excited for what Ukraine can do. I don't know how they're going to be able to accommodate for the loss of Dench and Taurus in particular. But they're a very explosive early game team. 17-24 is a minimum for me. They might be able to make top 16, but my prediction is top 24.
Okay.
It is time.
It is time.
It is time. Here we go.
The other team you have all been waiting for, the United States. We have Taquito, Rectagon, Windowlife, Bashiman, and Kama coming back from last year. Fiery, Vaxe, and Woodchi are out in favor of Decaton, Utami, and Pez. Miles, just go, bro. Just go.
Miles.
Yeah. Go. Here you go. Your stage is open.
Oh boy.
Okay. Yeah. So, hey guys, here they are. Until anybody beats them, I think you're out of your mind if you don't put them at first, because they have everything they need. They have Rectagon. He's back. Still the best tournament player in the Western Hemisphere. They have Utami, who held that mantle before disappearing for a year, coming back, could presumably de-rust back to that peak. And if you're facing those two playing at peak, I just don't know if there's any way you can win. And they're even more well-rounded this year, with Windowlife becoming an absolute demon this year. Not just a speed player anymore. He's a danger on everything mechanical, especially with Hard Rock enabled as well. Still have Bashi on the gimmick. The gimmick has kind of been the big question for them because, you know, they excluded Ethan Trix from the roster. One of the top performers on every hidden map they had in tryouts, not on the roster. But in doing so, they left Kama on the team once again, who's meant to bolster their mechanics more so they can try to more assuredly beat South Korea on that, assuming that those are the two teams in grand finals. And this year, Decaton is back. Decaton is back. He's going to be really good for them on tech. And that's a skill set that I know the USA wants to be very contentious with South Korea on. And that's something that Taquito will also be very strong on. That's a skill set they want to be able to break point. And a new player called Pez. If you're not aware of Pez, that guy is a freaking demon. I mentioned him earlier as being potentially an answer to Hyuk on aim. I still believe that. Insane aim, insane hard rock. But you can tell exactly what skill sets the United States is prioritizing with this roster. This team wants to win on speed, they want to contend on aim and tech, and that, I think, is going to be their key to potentially getting first once again.
Yeah, if you're not familiar with Pez, like, you'll go learn today. Because Pez is, like, we've talked about Rookie of the Year contenders with Fragrance of Page and with Skia, and then you have to include Pez in that discussion.
Yeah, I agree.
Because that dude has been lights out all year. Just tournament in, tournament out. It's been Pez displaying like just such a high level of mechanical skill. I mean, let's be real here. From the moment Grand Finals last year ended, it was like, okay, we want to see a rematch of this next year. And I'm pretty sure that we're just going to get it, because nobody other than South Korea at their best is going to beat this roster, and nobody other than this roster at their best is going to beat South Korea. It's like they are just made for each other. And like, I don't know how I picked South Korea to win. I'm picking this team to get second, but like at the end of the day, it's just going to come down to the smallest margins ever, because like there's one X factor, of course, that we talk about year in and year out, and it's USA, like the USA debuff. Virtually every team that plays against the USA, especially in late stages, like just underperforms by some amount. And that gets them a lot, like that takes them a long way, as if they weren't good enough already. Rectagon might be the most clutch tournament player. You know, he's a top 3 player in this tournament, and like the clutch factor is insane. I don't know, man. I just want it to be grand finals. Can we just have USA versus South Korea in the grand finals already?
It'd be nice.
So why are they not qualifying, Chillier?
Yeah, what's going on, Mr. OWC organizer?
The
script.
The United States' qualifiers lobby was mysteriously lost when getting applied to the sheet, and I will echo a lot of the things that honestly everyone here has said, and I said it when South Korea came up, and I will say it again here. I am excited for whatever team places first and second this year. I don't care, like many other people do, who ends up winning this tournament. I would love to see South Korea win. I would love to see the United States win. track records will confirm the United States is more likely to win if we're going on like an over-under from previous years.
Yeah.
They have a crazy team that has only served to get better this year. I'm going to be perfectly honest. Decaton is an upgrade from 2 of the 3 players that were switched out. Utami is at least a direct translation of Vaxei level performance right now, based on what I've seen from them lately. Absolutely, they are back to what you would expect. And Pez once again is probably the one of the best additions of the players who were either brought back or onto the team. This guy will be a top 3 or 4 performer on this roster this year. I guarantee it. It will happen. Even if it's just early stage or just mid or late stage, it will happen. They got, again, 2nd place in NAT for a reason. You know, only losing to Zudinator, who is a ridiculous player in and of herself. So
third place was Xylus, by the way.
3rd place Xylus. So this is the year of Canada potentially too. But they're a good team. I'm excited to see their qualifiers results. They are playing right now, quite literally. If you are interested, go watch one of their streams.
Is this the first time ever that the USA wasn't literally the last team to play qualifiers?
That is
probably.
Funny too.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Yeah.
But I don't know. They're a good team.
Yeah. I will echo thoughts. They are very good. We discussed them during South Korea also, because these are the only 2 teams that have a chance at winning the tournament this year, right? These are the 2. Yeah. It's USA or it's South Korea, and there is nobody else who is going to win this tournament this year. And those top 2 are just a level ahead of pretty much everybody else, save for maybe Australia or Germany on like the best of days possible, right? So either of these teams can win. I said earlier I thought South Korea's upgrades were slightly better than the US's. That doesn't mean I think the US's are bad. They still upgraded. All of these players are amazing. They are going to make it to grand finals. I would bet money that I would bet my life savings that they are in grand finals this year. And yeah, they will put up a very, very good show. Whether they win or not, I have it like slimmest of margins which team comes out on top. So it's going to be good.
It depends on what the default match schedule will be. If it's a 2 UTC match, it's over for the US.
USA cannot let this match be scheduled for that late. Chillier, we know a thing or two about playing South Korea on a tiebreaker at 2 in the morning Eastern time.
Bracket reset at 2 a.m.
Nah, but that was Hong Kong. I'm talking about in quarterfinals when we lost to South Korea.
Yeah, when we lost to solo Enon going off.
Yeah, when Enon FC'd Angrifer.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, where's Enon? That's what South Korea needs.
I'm just saying, last year's grand finals were 3 UTC. So
there you go.
Okay.
Yeah, that tiebreaker, the tiebreaker finished at 2:15 local time for anybody on the East Coast.
Gentlemen, I have an announcement.
They lost 3 California players. They don't have those 3 California players.
I have an announcement. We have it 3 hours since I started recording, so that is 3 hours of tier list. Let's move on and then fix it up and end things off. Any closing thoughts, Shiba? I don't think you got to say a piece on USA.
Takeda Garrett, Retro Gone Gay, would have gone great. So they're keeping Boshi, which is great. I love Boshi. I think his skill set's really cool, and he was objectively the most important player on the team last year. I don't think you can argue with that. So thank you, Takedo. Karma's great. Takeda's back is awesome. Utami's solid, and Pez is a fucking prodigy. So let's go USA. 2nd place. Hope they do a good grand finals.
Okay, on to the next.
South Korea would win if they had Kikizi on the team. I don't know.
All right, moving on.
Moving on. Uruguay. We have Rebo, Plux, Kazuki K, El Milanga, Shikasora. They lose Danet for Marozito, but they have 8 players this year, FDX and Eterna and OS. Unfortunately, I'm with the rest of the crowd here. I do not think they qualify. This is a team that some years gets close to qualifying, and I don't really think ever does, unfortunately. They may have qualified like once or twice, but I don't really remember. They qualified once in 2021, and aside from that, they have either not made the group stage or not gotten out of qualifiers, so long as OWC was officially hosted by the OS team, so not since OWC number 3 were they in group stage.
Yeah.
Let's just move on.
Good players.
Yeah. Thoughts?
Yeah.
They lost
Good
Dan.
players. Losing Dan is really tough.
No win.
Yeah.
I think that just like takes away their chances to qualify at all. So yeah.
Okay, on to the very last team on the list, Vietnam. They have actually a pretty solid upgrade this year. Railshin for Def, who is popping off in a lot of tournaments. Yep. Another guy, Bao Wally, returning from last year. And then 4 other players subbed out. Boydalot, Hoakyu, Fundintung, and Tanis subbed out for Casio, Tan, Ayamaki, and Freedom. Unfortunately, I don't think those subs are good enough to let them qualify. And to that end, we also already have 32 teams in the top 32 right now. So they are going... Actually, we have 33 because we have an extra in 25-32. And an extra in 13-16, but missing one in top 12. So they are going to be going in the DNQ, unfortunately, for Vietnam. Shout out to Def, who recently won Vietnam OS Cup, has been doing very, very well in tournaments like Kanyo Cup Division 2, got 2nd place there. Very, very scary player, very good player. He is going to carry Vietnam this year, but I don't think he can carry them to qualifying, unfortunately.
Yeah, I was going to say, Def is the best player in the tournament that probably won't qualify.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah, I agree.
That dude's been playing so well, but
it's
just not enough team.
Very good player. If Vietnam qualifies, it's because of Def.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, absolutely.
It's him putting the team on his back if they make it, but I don't think that's enough. I think the level of competition's too high.
Okay, gentlemen.
All right.
Let's
need one team moved up to 12th and need one team moved out so we can all go get dinner or whatever.
Or whatever we like to do. It's 9:15 local.
Shiba will go to sleep at 9 a.m.
Yeah.
I have to wake up at 9 a.m. for a Valorant match.
And it is 2:18 local there. Let's so yeah. The teams that we are looking at here. We have, I can't actually see because my screen's too small and I have OBS studio mode open. The teams that we need to move up. We need to move down one of the 25-32 teams, and we need to move up one of the 13-16 teams.
I vote Hong Kong up.
I vote Hong Kong up also.
I vote Hong Kong up.
I got confirmation Korean Maluko is not playing qualifiers.
I vote Brazil down.
Okay, I vote Brazil down.
I got confirmation from Korean Maluko himself in DMs that he will be playing qualifiers just from somebody else's computer. So I don't know what your source is, but I got it from the horse's mouth.
I had a different source. Okay.
Yeah.
If that's the case, then I'll shut the hell up.
I got it from Korean in DMs.
Are we agreement that Hong Kong up and so
I
agree. Done there?
I'm okay Hong Kong up.
Yeah, Hong Kong up.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, I agree. That's fine.
I think the team down is probably Netherlands or Argentina.
Let me double check.
I'm between Netherlands and Peru.
Mine are between.
Peru.
Yeah.
I'm definitely an NL Argentina either or right now.
I am an NLDK right now.
Yeah, see, that's the problem. There's like 8 teams that could all maybe not. Who knows?
I think. Yeah. Let's get through the teams that qualify for sure. Brazil. Anyone think they don't qualify?
As long as Korean Malako is playing, which I confirmed, yeah, I think they're qualifying for sure.
I have it from him in DMs that he should be playing, just on a different PC.
If that's true, then yes. Yeah.
Okay. Anyone opposed? Okay, they stay in. Israel, anyone think they do not qualify? No. Okay, New Zealand, anyone think they do not qualify? Singapore or Turkey, anyone think they don't qualify? Okay, so we're looking at Argentina, Denmark, Netherlands, and Peru. Argentina, anyone think they don't qualify? I heard a and not a yes.
I know.
So we'll
I've been
going back and
lot,
forth.
Yeah, I know it's tough. Okay, Denmark, Netherlands, and Peru head to head. Who has the better qualifiers run? Is the question.
Denmark.
Denmark.
I definitely
Denmark is a qualifiers team.
Yeah,
okay.
I definitely say Denmark. Yeah.
All right. So we have Denmark. So it's Netherlands or Peru. Who are we moving down?
Peru.
I think it's Peru this year.
I think it's Peru.
I think it's Peru.
All right.
Yeah.
That's 3 really or 4 for Peru. So Peru is down at the top, but not quite enough to stay in the qualifying section, unfortunately. And there it is.
It is done.
Yeah,
We did it.
We
Let's
did it.
go.
Good
Let
job,
me
team.
remove the Vietnam team card there, and there it is. Finished lists. It's over. There's the prediction stream.
We did it.
Get your
Again.
Twitter screenshots
Yippee.
from the VOD. Post them on Twitter. Tag us. Clown on us. That's the fun in this. And when we're right, we'll do the same to you. Stay tuned in the next couple of weeks, the next 6 weeks, actually. Full Circle will be back during OWC. We will be doing round of 32 predictions as well as qualifiers recap. We will be doing round of 32 recap and round of 16 predictions, and we'll be doing that basically every weekend, including probably a grand finals recap and a bit of a post-mortem. Maybe we'll try to coordinate some interviews with some of the map pool team or some of the organizers for a post-mortem if they agree to come on and if the organizers are all right with all that. So no promises there, but that's something that would be nice to have. And yeah, so tune back in. Should be episodes every Friday before matches. So a week from now, doing the qualifiers recap and round of 32 matchup predictions, where we talk about each match in depth. And that's usually before Pick'ems lock. So if you're doing your Pick'ems, tune in. Thank you everyone for watching. Thank you T1G, Sad Shiba, Miles, and Chillier for all of the work that goes into this and all of the casting done during the stream. And we will see all of you next week.
Bye, guys.